Chapter 257. The king of Yan's expression changed immediately. He was the king of a county and had a noble status. This was the first time he had to lower his voice to a junior. However, the other party did not give him face. Did he want him to kneel down? Qin Feiyong said meaningfully, "King of Yan, you can have another son if you lose your son. However, if you lose your position as the king of a county, you will never be able to make a comeback." The king of Yan clenched his fingers tightly and glared at Qin Feiyong coldly. Finally, he made up his mind and turned to look elsewhere, shouting, "Kill me quickly." "Father," the eldest prince shouted. Even his father did not care about his life and death. He was really dead this time. "I can't accept this. I have already opened the first level of the door of potential. My future is limitless. I can't die here." He screamed as if he had gone mad. "Ah!" Qin Feiyong was shocked. He turned to look at the king of Yan and asked, "You gave him the potential elixir?" The king of Yan said angrily, "Kill him quickly. Don't be so long-winded." Qin Feiyong shook his head and said regretfully, "Such a good potential pill was actually wasted by a dog. What a waste of God's gift." The king of Yan was so angry that his body was trembling. The eldest prince was his son. If he called the eldest prince a dog, wouldn't that mean that he was also a dog? This little bastard deserved to die. "Qin Feiyong!" The eldest prince suddenly roared. He stood up and glared at Qin Feiyong with hatred. He smiled sinisterly and said, "Let's make a bet." "Bet?" Qin Feiyong was stunned. He smiled faintly and said, "Tell me about it." The eldest prince said provocatively, "Let's fight one-on-one. If I win, you will let me go. If I lose, you can do whatever you want with me." One-on-one. Qin Feiyong looked at the eldest prince in shock. He really couldn't figure out where the first prince got the courage to challenge him. However, a glimmer of hope rose in the king of Yan's heart. Ever since the first prince broke through the martial artist extreme state, his cultivation speed had increased by leaps and bounds. Although Qin Feiyong had already unlocked the second level of the gate of potential, in terms of age, there was still a certain gap between him and the first prince. Therefore, he believed that his son would definitely win. Now, it was up to Qin Feiyong to see if he had the guts to accept the first prince's challenge. Yan Nanshan and the beautiful woman looked at each other with worry in their eyes. The beautiful woman could not help but advise, "Feiyong, this kind of meaningless battle is simply a waste of time. There is no need to agree." "Haha," the first prince laughed madly. "Qin Feiyong, haven't you always been arrogant? Don't you care about anyone? How come you don't even dare to accept the challenge of a prisoner? Looks like you're just a useless coward." He laughed without restraint. The corners of Qin Feiyong's lips curled up as he smiled faintly. "Aren't you just trying to goad me into agreeing with you? All right, as you wish." Yan Nanshan and the beautiful woman instantly frowned. Wolf King Ren Wushuang, lion-headed eagle, and Shui Ying's eyes were filled with deep mockery. "Everyone back off." King Yan sneered secretly as he stretched out his hand and shouted. Everyone retreated by a few meters to make space for Qin Feiyong and the first prince to fight. "Come on." Qin Feiyong flicked his sleeves and placed his hands behind his back. His eyes were calm and he looked unruffled as he displayed an unparalleled confidence. "Haha, you're the one who's looking for death. Don't blame me for being ruthless." The first prince laughed madly as his aura suddenly exploded. "Six-star martial ancestor?" Qin Feiyong was surprised. It looked like the first prince had refined quite a number of blood spirit pills during this period. He deserved to die. "If you have the guts, don't dodge. Overlord Fist." The first prince roared provocatively. Like an overlord returning, he punched towards Qin Feiyong. As long as Qin Feiyong didn't dodge, he had absolute confidence that he could smash Qin Feiyong into smithereens with one punch. There wouldn't even be any smithereens left behind. "All right, as you wish again, I won't dodge." Qin Feiyong nodded his head. His expression was as calm as usual. "Arrogant." King Yan's eyes shone with a shocking cold light. "You're still as stubborn as ever. I'll send you to hell right now. Die." The first prince was surrounded by a substantial murderous aura. His face was also filled with a cruel smile. His fist was about to hit Qin Feiyong's chest. Yan Nanshan and the beautiful woman's eyelids twitched. They almost couldn't help but save him. But at this moment, tiger-binding hand, Qin Feiyang muttered to himself. He stretched out his right hand that was behind his back at lightning speed. With a snap, he grabbed the first prince's wrist directly. The first prince's fist was only 3 inches away from his chest. However, in the first prince's eyes, this 3 inches distance was like a natural moat that was difficult to cross. He couldn't take another step forward. How can this be? The smile on his face froze instantly and was replaced by deep disbelief. I don't believe it, he roared furiously. His vital energy gushed out without any regard for his life. His power was surging wildly. However, even if he used all his strength, he couldn't take another step forward. Right then the entire place was silent. All the magnates were dumbstruck. They clearly remembered that when Qin Feiyang went to Pan County to participate in the friendly competition, he was only a 1-star martial grandmaster. How long had it been? His ability could actually crush the first prince who was a 6-star martial artist? Is this a dream? Even if he opened the second level of the gate of potential, it couldn't be that fast? Why? In terms of hard work, I'm more hardworking than you. In terms of talent, I'm not worse than you. In terms of elixirs, you have supreme grade chi gathering elixir and I have blood fury elixir. You've only opened one more level of the gate of potential than me. But why is your speed faster than mine? The first prince looked at Qin Feiyang ferociously and roared hysterically. Fatso is already very shameless. However, there is someone who is even more shameless than him. How dare he say that his talent is not worse than little Qin Zi's? Little worm, tell me quickly. Where did you get your courage from? Wolf King chuckled. In the entire county of Yan, who dared to compete with Qin Feiyang in terms of talent? He had seen a lot of shameless people, but this was the first time he had met someone as shameless as him. He thought that he was so great, but in fact, he was a complete idiot and a clown in the eyes of others. Bastard, after I kill Qin Feiyang, I'll kill you immediately. These words made the first prince extremely ashamed and angry. With a loud roar, he raised his other arm and crazily attacked Qin Feiyang. After being so arrogant for so long, it's time for you to pay the blood debt. Qin Feiyang's eyes surged with murderous intent. His entire temperament changed drastically in an instant. Like a war god from hell, his body exuded an astonishing murderous aura. He squeezed his 5 fingers hard. Crack! The first prince's wrist was shattered. Ah! The intense pain immediately turned into raging waves that violently impacted every nerve in the first prince's body, causing him to scream in pain. This punch is for Jiang Zhengyi, Qin Feiyang roared. He punched the first prince's lower abdomen. Arg! The first prince's body arched and he spat out a mouthful of blood. This punch is for Ling Yunfei. Qin Feiyang punched again. He did not use any martial arts techniques. He did not use his true qi, because he was afraid that he would directly kill the first prince. This punch is for Luo Qingzhu. This punch is for Zhao Shuang. This punch is for Feng Ling Air. Bang! Bang! Ah! Qin Feiyang's eyes were blood red. Like a mad bison, he punched the first prince's lower abdomen again and again. That terrifying gaze. That shocking murderous intent. Even the supergiants like Yan Nanshan could not help but be frightened. As for the first prince, he was like a human sandbag. He could not summon the slightest strength to resist and could only be beaten. His screams echoed in the main hall. His eyes were filled with desolation and despair. Bang! Qin Feiyang punched the last time. The first prince flew out and crashed into a stone pillar. Immediately, his head was broken and bleeding, and he saw stars. I beg you, kill me. He lay on the ground, bleeding all over. He begged weakly. Killing you is too easy for you. Qin Feiyang walked over step by step. His gaze was bone-chilling, like a cold-blooded god of death. Who can give me a quick death? The first prince raised his head with difficulty and glanced at the king of Yan and the rest with a miserable gaze. Me. The king of Yan bared his teeth and raised his hand. A stream of battle chi appeared and turned into an arrow. It shot into the first prince's glabella at lightning speed. Immediately, the first prince's head tilted and he fell to the ground dead. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He turned to look at the king of Yan, his eyes flashing fiercely. But then, he pursed his lips with a mocking smile and said, "It must be very painful to kill your own son with your own hands, right?" The king of Yen almost went crazy and his body trembled violently. The next moment, a gush of hot blood rushed to his throat and he spat it out. Qin Feiyong's expression changed. He said hurriedly, "King of Yen, are you all right? You are the king of Yen County. You must take care of your body." The king of Yen was so angry that he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. A look of disdain flashed across Qin Feiyong's eyes. He said with concern, "Senior King of Yen, although I can understand how you are feeling now, the elimination plan cannot go on without you. Can you still continue? Little bastard. I swear that I am not human if I don't kill you." The king of Yen roared in his heart. He squeezed out a very stiff smile and said, "Don't worry about me. Although he is my son, he has committed such a grave mistake and deserves to die. I will not feel sad for him." Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and smiled. "Senior is indeed a selfless person. I admire you. Our first target is the Lin family." At the mention of the Lin family, the Wolf King's eyes flashed with a strong murderous intent. Qin Feiyong glanced at it and turned to look at the beautiful woman. He said, "Elder Ji, please stay in the palace and seal off the news. Capture Lin Chun while you are at it." "Leave it to me." The beautiful woman nodded and smiled. Swoosh! The group walked out of the main hall and rushed into the sky. The Lin family was also in the East City district. In a few breaths, the group arrived in the sky above the Lin family. Wolf King looked down and said telepathically, "Little Qin Zi, we must destroy the Lin family tonight. Yan Nanshan and the rest will definitely not agree. But don't worry, I will make the arrangements later." Qin Feiyong replied secretly, "Okay." Wolf King's eyes were extremely terrifying at this moment. "Hallmaster, I can only trouble you to capture Lin Hua and Lin Hao and bring them to Patriarch Lin's residence to meet us." Chapter 258. Yan Nanshan nodded. Like a ghost, he entered the Lin family without anyone noticing. Qin Feiyong smiled, "Senior King Yan, you should know where Patriarch Lin lives. Lead the way." Swoosh! King Yan dashed towards the backyard of the Lin family without hesitation. Ma Cheng followed closely behind. Qin Feiyong followed beside Ren Wushuang and whispered, "Old Eagle, let's follow the old rules. Don't let Patriarch Lin have a chance." "Are you still worried about me?" Lion-headed Eagle glanced at him with disdain. In the backyard of the Lin family, there was a small independent attic. There were 2 floors in total. A weak candlelight shone through one of the windows on the second floor. Patriarch Lin was sitting cross-legged on the bed, refining the blood-killing pill. The surroundings of the attic were quiet. Qin Feiyong and the rest landed silently beside the garden in front of the attic. Ma Cheng whispered in a serious tone, "Patriarch Lin is a 5-star combat emperor. He is not weak. We have to kill him with one blow." 5-star combat emperor? Qin Feiyong was shocked. He was even stronger than Elder Wan and the rest. It seemed that he had to think of a foolproof plan. Suddenly, an idea flashed through his mind. He looked at Old Eagle on Ren Wushuang's shoulder and whispered, "We have to change our strategy. Later, you hide in my sleeve and act according to the situation. Senior King Yan, Senior Ma Cheng, you two hide on both sides of the window to prevent him from escaping. Sister, it's cool in the sky. You go up there and watch over the Lin family for me. If anyone sneaks out, kill him immediately." Qin Feiyong quickly made arrangements. "Just say it if you think I'm a hindrance." Ren Wushuang rolled his eyes and flew up to the sky, looking down. Lion-headed Eagle also slipped into Qin Feiyong's sleeve. He hid his aura and waited for orders. After Ma Cheng and King Yan hid well, Qin Feiyong took a deep breath. He sent Wolf King into the castle and strode to the window. Immediately, he leaped up and entered old Ancestor Lin's room. "Who is it?" Ancestor Lin immediately sensed that someone had barged in. He opened his eyes abruptly and 2 beams of intense cold light shot out from his eyes. "Who is it?" When he saw the person's face clearly, Patriarch Lin immediately stood up. His old face was filled with shock. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "You made me die so miserably. Of course I have to come back to visit you." Old Ancestor Lin's pupils constricted and he said warily, "Are you human or ghost?" "Yes." Qin Feiyong found a chair and sat on it. He raised his head and grinned at Old Ancestor Lin. Old Ancestor Lin actually felt a little apprehensive. "If you're a human, I'll kill you again. If you are a ghost, this old man will destroy both your soul and body, never to be reincarnated." Killing intent surged in Old Ancestor Lin's eyes as a terrifying pressure enveloped Qin Feiyong. The moment the pressure enveloped him, Qin Feiyong's face contorted. He felt like he was going to suffocate to death. Seeing this, Old Ancestor Lin came to a realization and sneered, "Looks like you're not a ghost. Then this old man wants to see who's pretending to be a ghost." He took a step forward and took out a Heaven's Eye stone. He grabbed Qin Feiyong's wrist and pressed it on the Heaven's Eye stone. He thought the Qin Feiyong in front of him was someone else pretending to be him. However, he didn't know that this was what Qin Feiyong wanted the most. It was simply a heaven-sent opportunity. When his hand pressed on the Heaven's Eye stone, the lion-headed eagle hiding in his sleeve was like a sharp arrow. It swept out like lightning and went straight for Old Ancestor Lin's chest. Not good. Old Ancestor Lin suddenly felt a strong sense of crisis in his heart. He didn't let his cultivation down. He quickly moved his feet. Puff! The lion-headed eagle pierced through Old Ancestor Lin's chest. A bloody hole the size of a palm immediately appeared. Blood splattered 3 feet. But because he moved that step, it didn't hurt his heart. Humph! He groaned in pain. He immediately realized that he had been tricked. He turned around without hesitation and rushed toward the window. A 5-star combat emperor is indeed not someone Jia He and the Grand Commander can compare to, Qin Feiyong mumbled. But was it possible to escape? Without waiting for Old Ancestor Lin to rush out of the window, King Yan and Ma Chang, who were hiding behind the window, attacked at the same time. Battle Chi surged and slapped Old Ancestor Lin's body. Ah! Old Ancestor Lin screamed and was slapped back into the room. At the same time, the lion-headed eagle seized the opportunity and pounced again. Its sharp claws tore open Old Ancestor Lin's chest and crushed his heart. Bang! Old Ancestor Lin rolled on the ground. Blood gushed out like a fountain and dyed the floor red. It hurts. The intense pain brought about by his heart being crushed made him unable to help but howl in pain even with his cultivation. But more than that, he was surprised. King Yan and Ma Chang were actually here? And they were outside ambushing him? Qin Feiyong got up, raised his right foot, and stepped on Old Ancestor Lin's mouth. He smiled and said, "I'm not a ghost, nor am I an imposter. Because I'm not dead." Old Ancestor Lin's pupils constricted. He was filled with disbelief. Qin Feiyong loosened his foot and said with a smile, "Your current expression is exactly the same as Jia He and the Grand Commander's." Old Ancestor Lin shook his head and said, "This is not true. I saw you being killed by Jiang Jingyi with my own eyes. Jiang Jingyi did attack, but he did not hurt my heart. He did that to protect me." A trace of melancholy crept up between Qin Feiyong's brows. "Damn Jiang Jingyi!" Old Ancestor Lin roared with resentment. "You still dare to blame him?" Qin Feiyong was instantly enraged and kicked Old Ancestor Lin's head. "If you did not sneak attack Jiang Jingyi, would he have died? He trusted you so much and you actually harmed him. Do you still have any humanity left? Old man, I'll make you suffer a fate worse than death today." Qin Feiyong was like a furious lion, riding on Old Ancestor Lin and punching his face crazily. Blood splattered everywhere. Before long, Old Ancestor Lin's face was mangled and he did not look human anymore. Clang! He took out Chang Shui and chopped off Old Ancestor Lin's limbs. Finally, Old Ancestor Lin was tortured to death by him. At the same time as Old Ancestor Lin died, Qin Feiyong sat on the ground and panted heavily. Swoosh! A moment later, he let out a long breath and looked at Old Ancestor Lin's corpse. He whispered, "Senior Jiang Ling Yunfei, I've killed all the accomplices who killed you. Now it's Sua An's turn." A ferocious glint flashed in his eyes. He walked to the window and jumped down, landing on the flat ground below. The lion-headed eagle also flew out and stopped on his shoulder. King Yan and Ma Chang looked at the miserable Old Ancestor Lin and sighed deeply. They also jumped out of the window. Whoosh! Yan Nanshan grabbed Lin Hao in one hand and Lin Hua in the other and flew over. Why aren't you dead? When they saw Qin Feiyang covered in blood, their faces turned pale. Yan Nanshan stopped in midair and threw the two of them in front of Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang glanced at the two of them and looked at Lin Hao. Have your bird eggs been cured? It's you. Lin Hao was shocked. The scene that happened in Zhanbao Pavilion came to his mind involuntarily. Qin Feiyang ignored him and waved his hand. Wolf King appeared out of thin air and said calmly, "Do whatever you want. Who are you? How dare you come to the Lin family and behave atrociously?" At this moment, Lin Han led a group of battle monarchs with torches in their hands as they ran over aggressively. King Yan, Palace Master Ma, Palace Master Yan. When they saw King Yan and the others, the group of people stopped in unison and their faces were full of shock. Family head, look, that's Qin Feiyang and Wolf King. A burly man pointed at the man and wolf and shouted in disbelief. What? Aren't they dead? Why are they here? Lin Han and the others glared at him and their mouths were wide open. Qin Feiyang ignored them and looked at Ren Wushuang. Sister, you can come down now. Whoosh! Ren Wushuang was dressed in white and her hair danced in the wind. She looked like a fairy from the 9 heavens and landed in front of Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang waved his hand again and took Fatso and Lu Hong out of the castle. Then, he leaned over to Ren Wushuang and whispered, Sister, do me a favor. After he finished speaking, Ren Wushuang frowned. After pondering for a while, she nodded slightly and looked at the eagle. Protect Feiyang. The lion-headed eagle smiled. Master, don't worry. I won't let your cheap brother lose a single hair. Be careful. Ren Wushuang also looked at Qin Feiyang and reminded him. Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at Ma Cheng, King Yan and Yan Nanshan. He smiled and said, It's time to deal with the main character. Let's go outside the city. Outside the city? The three of them were puzzled. Shouldn't they go to the treasure pavilion? They didn't ask any more questions and soared into the sky, silently flying out of the city. White-eyed wolf, don't be in a hurry. Wait until we fight with Zuan. Qin Feiyang secretly told Wolf King through telepathy. Then, the lion-headed eagle brought Qin Feiyang and chased after Yan Nanshan and the other two. What the hell is going on? Lin Han's mind was in a mess. He looked at Wolf King and Ren Wushuang and the others and said angrily, What are you doing in my Lin family? Let go of Lin Hao and Lin Hua. The group of War King behind him also immediately drew their blades. Let them go? Wolf King slowly walked towards Lin Hao and Lin Hua. His pair of green eyes flickered with an incomparably ferocious light. Blood Eagle, go up to the sky and guard them. If anyone leaves, inform me. Ren Wushuang patted the Blood Eagle on his shoulder. The Blood Eagle immediately flapped its wings and flew above the Lin family. Its pair of blood-red eagle eyes were like two blades, incomparably sharp. Oh! Wolf King suddenly howled, opened his bloody mouth and pounced towards Lin Hua. How dare you! Lin Han's killing intent rose. Humph! However, at this time, the might of a war emperor enveloped the entire place. Lin Han and the others all looked at Ren Wushuang, their eyes filled with fear and fear. Where did Qin Feiyang find this sister? Bastard, don't be arrogant. Of course, Lin Hua would not sit still and wait for death, and immediately began to counterattack. At the same time, Lin Hao also got up, stepped on an auxiliary martial skill, and struck towards Wolf King with the origin returning palm. However, both of them were too naive. How could they be a match for Wolf King? In less than 3 breaths, their heads were crushed by Wolf King, and blood splattered everywhere. How? Eldest young master. Lin Hua. Lin Han and the others bared their teeth, their eyes spitting out dense flames of hatred. Someone shouted, Ancestor, quickly come out and kill them. Fatso crossed his arms over his chest and sneered. It's useless, he can't come out because he has already been killed by Boss. The ancestor is dead? I don't believe it. The group of people shook their heads desperately. Ren Wushuang's slender fingers moved, and a stream of battle chi gushed out. It flew into the window, rolled up the corpse of Ancestor Lin, and flew out again. Bang! The corpse landed in front of Lin Han and the others. The group of people were dumbstruck, and their torches and weapons fell to the ground. From now on, if anyone dares to move, I will kill them. Ren Wushuang said indifferently. Chapter 259. At the same time, Qin Feiyang and the others left Yan City quietly. They entered deep into the mountains and landed in front of a river. The river was about a meter wide and the water was flowing rapidly. On both sides of the river, there were endless forests with powerful beasts roaming around. But as soon as they sensed the aura of the lion-headed eagle, they fled in panic. The aquatic beasts lurking in the water also fled far away. Yan Nanshan looked around and asked, Qin Feiyang, what's the next step? Lure Xuan out. Qin Feiyang's eyes sparkled. Xuan was too powerful. He could not kill him with one blow. Once they fought in the city, many innocent people would be killed. So, he must be lured out of the city first. But suddenly, Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. He turned to look at Ma Cheng and said, Senior, do you remember what happened in the Black Bear Mountain? I don't want to repeat the same mistake today. Ma Cheng felt uncomfortable when the old incident was mentioned again. Qin Feiyang continued, I'll make things clear first. If Xuan escapes because of someone's interference, I'll definitely ask my sister to inform the provincial government immediately. At that time, you'll have to bear the consequences. I agree. Yan Nanshan was the first to nod. If Ma Cheng did not act recklessly in the Black Bear Mountain, Xuan would not have escaped. Today's incident would not have happened at all. In the end, it was all Ma Cheng's fault. King Yan said, I agree too. We must get rid of Xuan tonight. Otherwise, the situation will be worse in the future. We will be punished even more severely. Ma Cheng raised his eyebrows and nodded. I'll try my best to cooperate. Qin Feiyang said, all right, you guys step aside first. The three of them stepped aside. It's not easy to lure Xuan out. Yan Nanshan was a little worried. Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal and injected his genuine qi into it to activate it. Soon, Steward Li's shadow appeared. How's the plan going? Manager Li asked. Qin Feiyang said, Xuan's wings have all been clipped, leaving only a few small fries. Now, Hall Master and I are outside the city, ready to deal the final blow to Xuan. Steward Li frowned. Then how do we lure Xuan out? Qin Feiyang smiled and said, that will depend on your ability. Me? Manager Li was stunned. I can't do it. You're the only one who can do it. Qin Feiyang said. All right, I'll do my best. Manager Li nodded helplessly. Qin Feiyang said, however, I can give you an idea. What idea? Manager Li asked. Tell him that. Qin Feiyang explained briefly. Manager Li turned off the image crystal. He frowned and mumbled, will it work? But now we can only try our best. I hope we can succeed. He took a few deep breaths and quickly ran to the underground secret room. Very soon, he came to the door of the secret room. He calmed himself down and shouted, Pavilion Master, I have an urgent matter to discuss with you. Come out quickly. Boom! The stone door opened. Xuan strode out and looked at Manager Li suspiciously. He frowned and asked, what's the hurry? Manager Li said, King Yan, Ma Cheng, and Yan Nanshan said they have something to discuss with you. They're looking for me? Xuan frowned and asked, where are they? Outside the city. Manager Li said, why are they outside the city? Xuan began to feel suspicious. It seemed that he had to ask Jia He and the others first. Manager Li said, they found a very strange place outside the city and want you to take a look. They also told me not to reveal it to anyone else. A strange place? Xuan was stunned. Manager Li said, according to King Yan's guess, it might be an ancient site. An ancient site? Xuan's body trembled. Usually, a place called an ancient site would hide a peerless treasure. Manager Li urged, Pavilion Master, they're already waiting there. You're the only one left. I'll take you there now. He also knew that Xuan, who had always been cautious, would definitely ask Jia He and the others first. So, he couldn't give Xuan this chance. Otherwise, the matter would be exposed. Xuan said, go out and wait for me. Manager Li frowned and said, Pavilion Master, you've always been straightforward. Why are you dragging your feet today? Xuan said angrily, just wait. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Manager Li's heart sank. Was he really going to be exposed? Xuan was about to close the stone door. Manager Li suddenly thought of a plan. He grabbed the stone door and said anxiously, Pavilion Master, I'm not talking nonsense. It's because there's a wolf claw print in that place. Wolf claw? Xuan was slightly stunned and asked in surprise, what do you mean? Yin Nanshan said that the wolf claw print was left by Qin Feiyang's wolf. In other words, Qin Feiyang and the Wolf King have been there before. It's very likely that they got the formula for the potential elixir there. Pavilion Master, you should know the value of the potential elixir. Manager Li said excitedly, pretending to be serious. Xuan was also excited when he heard this. But then he calmed down again and asked doubtfully, it's just a wolf claw print. How can you tell that it was left by the wolf? Manager Li was burning with anxiety. Xuan's vigilance was far beyond his expectations. He was at his wits' end. If he failed here, not only would the elimination plan be in vain, Xuan would definitely kill him. In short, he must not let Xuan contact Jia He and the others. At the same time, Qin Feiyang stood by the river frowning. Why aren't they here yet? The treasure pavilion was located in the West District, not far from here. With Xuan and Manager Li's speed, they could arrive in a few breaths. Could something have happened? Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled, and he took out the image crystal again. No, Xuan and Manager Li must be together now. If I send a message to Manager Li, my identity will be exposed. He quickly turned his head and looked at Theta Wang and the others. I'm worried that Manager Li is in trouble. Quickly send a message to him. Yin Nanshan immediately took out the image crystal from his Qingkuan bag. In front of the stone door of the secret chamber, Xuan looked at Manager Li suspiciously. Manager Li's forehead was already faintly sweating. Buzz! But at this moment, the image crystal in his arms trembled. Could it be Qin Feiyang? Please don't let it be this kid. Manager Li's heart trembled. He braced himself and took out the crystal. He poured his battle chi into it, and 3 shadows quickly condensed. It was not Qin Feiyang. It was Yin Nanshan and the other 2. Manager Li secretly heaved a sigh of relief. King Yin said angrily, Zhang Jingyi, what are you doing? Why are you still in the treasure pavilion? Yin Nanshan added, why do I feel that you've become a different person since you came back from Pan County? Xuan's heart skipped a beat. He smiled apologetically and said, sorry, I was delayed by something. I'll go right away. Ma Cheng said impatiently, hurry up. Yin Nanshan, King Yin and I all guessed that it must be an ancient site. Xuan nodded and said, okay, I'll come to you now. If you're not here in 5 breaths, we'll go to the treasure pavilion to look for you. Yin Nanshan said unhappily as he turned off the image crystal. It doesn't seem like he's lying. Xuan thought for a while and smiled at Manager Li, let's go. If we keep them waiting, I'm afraid they'll really get angry. You came just in time. Manager Li muttered. If Yin Nanshan and the other 2 did not suddenly send a message, he really did not know what to do. Whoosh! The 2 turned into a stream of light and rushed out side by side. By the river. Qin Feiyang gave Yin Nanshan and the other 2 a thumbs up. They were all geniuses in acting. He seemed to have thought of something and said, Temple Master Seniors, I have a question. Zhang Jingyi is dead, so the image crystal is useless. And all of you have built a contract bridge with Zhang Jingyi. This is a very obvious flaw. But why didn't you realize that this Zhang Jingyi was Xuan? He looked at the 3 of them suspiciously. Of course we knew. We asked him at that time. He said that he accidentally destroyed the image crystal on the way. Jia He and the others were also lying at the side. Of course we wouldn't suspect them. The 3 of them said. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. It was too late to say, but in the blink of an eye. In less than 5 breaths, 2 powerful auras came from the direction of Yen City. I'll hide first. You guys act according to the situation. Qin Feiyang said and entered the ancient castle. After listening for so long, Luo Qianxue basically figured out what was going on. There was an indelible sadness on her face. The murderous intent in Qin Feiyang's heart became more and more intense. Outside, the king of Yen rushed into the sky. His battle chi surged and lit up the world. Xuan and Steward Li saw him immediately. The 2 of them landed in front of the king of Yen like lightning. Steward Li immediately asked, King of Yen, where is the ancient site? Let's go down and talk. The king of Yen led the 2 of them and landed in front of Yin Nanshan and Ma Cheng. Zuan looked around and asked in confusion, "Why are there only the three of you? Where are Jia He and the others?" Ma Cheng said, "We haven't informed them yet. After we confirm it, we will ask them to come and help. Stewardly, you should go back first." Stewardly couldn't help at all if he stayed here. Stewardly hesitated and said, "Well, I want to take a look too." Zuan smiled and said, "Go back first. We will inform you if there is any news." "All right." Stewardly nodded. With a trace of reluctance, he turned and flew away. "Where is the ancient site?" Zuan glanced at Yan Nanshan and the other two and asked. Yan Nanshan looked around and walked to Zuan. He said in a low voice, "The ancient site is." While Yan Nanshan was talking, Ma Cheng and the King of Yan also took a step forward and surrounded Zuan in the middle. The distance between the four of them was less than half a meter. The time was ripe. Yan Nanshan's words stopped abruptly. The three giants attacked at the same time and slapped Zuan with all their might. Murderous intent, battle chi and the terrifying aura of the War Emperor exploded at this moment. They were too fast. They were too close to each other. Even the cunning Zuan couldn't avoid their sneak attack. Boom! At this moment. Chapter 260. They had succeeded in one strike. Yan Nanshan and the other two wanted to take this opportunity to kill Zuan. But Zuan was not easy to deal with. When he came back to his senses, the aura of an 8-star combat emperor exploded. His eyes shone with a ferocious light. He stretched out both of his hands and his battle chi swept across the sky, pushing Yan Nanshan and King Yan away. At the same time, Ma Cheng punched him in the back. Crack! A few bones were broken. Like a meteor, he flew into the depths of the forest. Wherever it passed, the towering ancient trees were smashed to the ground like decaying dead wood. Finally, he crashed into a giant mountain with a loud bang. The giant mountain, which was a few hundred feet tall, collapsed on the spot with a deafening rumble. Yan Nanshan shouted, "This is a good opportunity. Don't give him any time to catch his breath." The three magnates' auras were like rainbows as they rushed towards the collapsed mountain peak. At the same time, Qin Feiyang and the lion-headed eagle appeared out of thin air. "Eagle, follow them," Qin Feiyang urged. Swoosh! The lion-headed eagle carried him and chased after them at lightning speed. Rumble! Accompanied by an earth-shattering boom, Zuan flew out from the collapsed mountain peak with a terrifying aura and stood high in the sky. He was covered in blood. That fatal sneak attack from before had caused him to be seriously injured. Swoosh! Yan Nanshan and the other two flew over and surrounded Zuan in the middle. "Why did you plot against us? If you don't give us a satisfactory explanation today, don't blame us for reporting you to the state government." Zuan glanced at the three of them coldly. "You're still pretending?" The three of them looked at each other with sarcasm in their eyes. "Cut the crap. Kill him while he's weak. Kill him," Yan Nanshan shouted. After he finished speaking, his battle chi rushed out from his body like a torrent. King Yan and Ma Cheng also attacked with all their might. Their battle chi rolled in all directions and even the heavens and the earth were trembling. The three magnates joined forces and their aura was terrifying. "Don't go too far." Zuan was furious. Although he was seriously injured, he was not afraid at all and fought with the three of them. Rumble! Crack! Mountains crumbled and the earth cracked. It was as if doomsday had arrived. The ferocious beasts and birds in the forest fled for their lives. Qin Feiyang did not approach. He stood on top of a distant mountain and looked into the distance. Zuan has been severely injured by the sneak attack and can't exert his full strength. I'm sure we can annihilate him this time. Manager Li flew to Qin Feiyang's side, a cold light flashing in his old eyes. He didn't really leave either. Qin Feiyang said, "No matter whether he is seriously injured or not, he must die here today. But we can't let go of the small fries in the city." Manager Li nodded and said, "This old man understands. This old man will go back now to gather the troops and eliminate those remnants." Qin Feiyang said, "Inform Elder Wan and the others while you're at it." "All right," Manager Li responded, then turned around and tore through the sky. Qin Feiyang said, "Old Eagle, it's time for your little brothers to move out. Have them seal off Swallow City from all sides. From now on, only people can enter and not leave." Chirp! The lion-headed eagle raised its head and let out a sharp cry. Roar! The 15 ferocious beasts that were hiding in the depths of the mountain brought with them a terrifying aura and descended upon Swallow City at lightning speed. Why are there so many ferocious beasts? Their aura is so strong. They can all fly. They are combat emperor ferocious beasts. The moment the 15 ferocious beasts descended, the entire Swallow City fell into a state of panic. Everyone was in danger. What are you doing in Swallow City? Who sent you here? Elder He and Elder Wan from the South District, Elder Ji from the East District, and Manager Li who had just returned to the West District couldn't help but change their expressions. They all flew up into the sky and looked at the ferocious beasts outside the city. Master Beast Emperor has ordered that from now on, all humans in Swallow City can only enter and not leave until Qin Feiyong returns. Hearing this, Elder Wan and the others heaved a sigh of relief. So it was Qin Feiyong who had arranged this. It was only until now that they realized what had happened. It turned out that Qin Feiyong had already made arrangements for this. A total of 15 combat emperor ferocious beasts. This guy was really generous. At the same time, Lin family. Roar! Wolf King's angry roar resounded in all directions. A massacre began in an instant. Haha, Lin Han, today is the end of your Lin family. Fatso laughed wildly as he followed behind Wolf King and attacked the younger generation of the Lin family. Ren Wushuang also attacked. More than 10 combat kings of the Lin family were killed by her finger. Tonight, Swallow City was destined to not be peaceful. Blood was everywhere. Martial Imperial Palace. Shizhang Elder Chu and a group of deacon elders rushed out of the door aggressively. The disciples of the Blood Slaughter Palace who were monitoring the Martial Imperial Palace were all killed on the spot. A large number of combat kings also appeared in the Danwang Hall and the royal family. After the combat kings of the Zhanbao Pavilion found out the truth, they also started a carpet cleansing of Swallow City under the lead of Manager Li. The combat kings of the 4 superpowers all came out with Heaven's Eye stones. Anyone who changed their appearance was killed without mercy. Of course, not everyone who changed their appearance was a disciple of the Blood Slaughter Palace. Some of them were just hiding from their enemies. But when they found out about the situation, they couldn't care less and changed their appearance. Their lives were more important. In the city at night, a massacre was happening everywhere. The air of the 4 districts was filled with the pungent smell of blood. The massacre outside the city was even more brutal. Yan Nanshan, Zuan, and the other 2 killed their way into the depths of the mountain range. Everything within a few thousand meters was destroyed. Although Zuan was strong, he was seriously injured and was gradually falling into a hopeless situation. Although Yan Nanshan and the others were also injured to varying degrees, their aura was even more terrifying. Qin Feiyong hid in the dark and didn't let the lion-head eagle attack. He wanted to find the perfect opportunity to deal a fatal blow to Zuan. Another 10 breaths passed. Hiss! A giant python suddenly jumped out from behind Zuan. Its long and narrow eyes shone with a sinister light. This was his combat soul. This also meant that Yan Nanshan and the other 2 had indeed forced him into a desperate situation. Zuan, don't think about escaping today. Yan Nanshan shouted. Behind him, a gigantic eagle soared into the sky. Its body was fiery red as if it was condensed from flames. Its curved claws and sharp eyes were daunting. This was the fire eagle. It was Yan Nanshan's combat soul. Ma Chang and the King of Yen summoned their combat souls at the same time. Ma Cheng's combat soul was also a giant python like Zuan. However, Ma Cheng's combat soul was scarlet and dozens of meters long. It was ferocious as if it was cast from magma. The King of Yan's combat soul was even more shocking. It was a W-arm. Kill! The 3 of them waved their hands with a murderous aura. The 3 combat souls roared in the sky, crushing mountains one after another as they clashed with Zuan's combat soul. In less than 5 breaths, Zuan's combat soul wailed and was torn into pieces. Immediately, Zuan spat out a mouthful of blood and roared, "Tell me, why did you do this?" Until now, he had not realized that his identity had been exposed. He couldn't be blamed. This was because he had done it flawlessly, without the slightest flaw. If it wasn't for Qin Feiyong, Yan Nanshan and the rest would not have realized that Zhang Jingyi was a fake. Yan Nanshan and the other two did not make a sound. As they waved their hands, the three combat souls roared towards Zhuan with a ferocious aura. Damn it! I can't hide any longer. Zhuan gritted his teeth and ran away with a mysterious footwork. His speed was twice as fast as before. An auxiliary combat art. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. He finally understood why Zhuan could escape from Yan Nanshan and the rest again and again. The reason was that he had an auxiliary combat art. Combat arts and martial techniques were not required. Combat arts could only be practiced by martial artists who had mastered battle qi. Auxiliary combat arts and martial techniques were similar in nature. However, auxiliary combat arts were many times rarer than martial techniques. It was extremely rare even in the imperial capital. Qin Feiyang did not expect Zhuan to have mastered an auxiliary combat art. Although it was just an inferior combat art, it was already very shocking. Go after him. Yan Nanshan and the other two were anxious. Although they were prepared, their efforts were futile in the face of Zhuan's overwhelming speed. You are not surprised at all. It seems that the three of you already know my true identity. Zhuan grinned hideously. King Yan shouted, Zhuan, you are at the end of the road. I advise you to surrender now. End of the road? Can you catch up with me? Since I have been exposed, I will not hold back. I will slaughter Yen City now and refine them into blood-killing pills. Zhuan laughed sinisterly. His face was filled with madness as he ran toward Yen City like a bolt of lightning. Qin Feiyang's expression changed drastically. He shouted, this is a good opportunity. Take a shortcut and stop him. The lion-headed eagle carried Qin Feiyang and ran through the forest at high speed. Qin Feiyang stared at Zhuan. At the same time, Theta Wang and the others chased after Zhuan anxiously. If Zhuan really massacred Yen City, the three rulers of Yen City would be implicated. Zhuan arrived at the back of the North City after a while. Yan Nanshan, I will destroy your martial imperial hall first. He laughed maniacally and rushed toward the city. What should we do? Yan Nanshan was on the verge of exploding. But at this moment, the lion-headed eagle shot out from the forest below like a bolt of black lightning. The sharp beak easily pierced through Zhuan's skin and pierced through his chest, leaving a palm-sized bloody hole in his body. Blood dyed the sky red. What happened? Zhuan was shocked. He looked down at his chest and his eyes widened in disbelief. At the next moment, he screamed in pain and lost his balance. He fell into the forest below. He looked at the lion-headed eagle again. In its claws there was a heart that was still beating. It was Zhuan's heart. This was a fatal blow. Without his heart, Zhuan would definitely die. Bang! Zhuan fell into the forest and hit the ground. A deep pit was formed on the ground. Zhuan was buried deep in the soil. Blood bubbles kept coming out of his mouth. His face was full of confusion. Tap, tap, tap. Suddenly, Zhuan heard the sound of footsteps. He felt that someone was approaching him step by step. The aura was not strong, but it was familiar. Who was it? Chapter 261. Why are you here? Zhuan's eyes almost popped out of their sockets when he saw the person's face. Why is Qin Feiyang still alive? No, this must be a dream. Zhuan closed his eyes. At this moment, the pain of losing his heart had been thrown to the back of his mind. All that was left was bewilderment. He opened his eyes again. Not only did Qin Feiyang not disappear, but he was already standing in front of Zhuan, looking down at him. Why aren't you dead? Zhuan roared without hesitation. Whoosh! The lion-headed eagle swooped down with Zhuan's heart in its hand and stopped beside Qin Feiyang. His battle qi surged and shone in all directions. Qin Feiyang stepped on Zhuan and said coldly, if I'm dead, no one will expose your true face. No. You were killed by Jiang Jingyi. Zhuan shook his head, still unable to believe it. Qin Feiyang grabbed Zhuan's heart and said, do you know? Since you killed Feng Chang and the Black Bear King, I swore in my heart that I will cut off your head with my own hands to avenge them. As soon as he finished speaking, he clenched his fist and crushed Zhuan's heart on the spot. Little bastard, I'm going to kill you. Zhuan roared and struggled with all his might. But now his life was in danger and he was like a fish on the chopping board. He had no strength to get up. However, the vitality of the War Emperor was amazing. He was still alive after losing his heart. At this moment, Yan Nanshan and the other two landed in front of Qin Feiyang. Looking at the dying Zuan, they could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Zuan glanced at them one by one and grinned. Don't be too happy. Even if I die in your hands today, even if Jia He and Patriarch Lin are killed by you, there will be a bloody storm in Yen City soon. Yan Nanshan sneered. Are you talking about the commander of the royal family? How do you know? Zuan's eyes widened. It's all thanks to Qin Feiyang. If it wasn't for him, we really wouldn't have been able to find the first commander. Now Generalissimo Jia He and Patriarch Lin have all reported to the underworld. You're the only one left. Yan Nanshan's eyes flashed with killing intent. Zuan's body trembled violently as he stared ferociously at Qin Feiyang and roared, Little bastard, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. I'm afraid you won't even have the chance to become a ghost. Qin Feiyang took out a facial restoration pill and forced it into Zuan's mouth. The next moment, Zuan revealed his true face. Qin Feiyang took out the Chong Shui and prepared to chop off Zuan's head. Ma Chong suddenly stopped him and said coldly, This man has done a lot of evil. It's too easy to kill him. Bring him back and the people of Yen City will make him suffer. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded. He put away the Chong Shui and lifted Zuan up. The group rose into the air and flew toward the city. The moment they entered the city, Yan Nanshan waved his hand. A wave of battle aura surged into the sky like a tide and condensed into a full moon. The entire Yen City was as bright as day. It's Qin Feiyang. He's not dead. The people in the city had already been awakened by such a big incident and gathered on the streets. The moment the full moon appeared, some people noticed Qin Feiyang. They immediately exclaimed in surprise. The entire county of Yen knew that Qin Feiyang had died in the Swallowpan mountain range. But now he appeared in front of them again. How could they not be surprised? Didn't he embezzle the herbs and was executed by Jiang Jingyi on the spot? Why is he still with the Prince of Yen and the others? Who's the person he's carrying? The discussion and clamor intertwined into a terrifying sound wave that covered the sky and earth. Whoosh! A figure rushed into the sky. It was the beautiful woman. She was carrying a person in her hand. Lin Chen. Master. Lin Chen's expression changed when he saw Zuan's miserable state. His face turned even paler when he saw Qin Feiyang carrying Zuan. My lords, Zuan forced me to do this. Please show mercy and spare my life. Lin Chen immediately begged. You deserved to die. A murderous intent flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes. A layer of ice appeared on his index finger, and he pointed it at Lin Chen's forehead. Don't kill me. Arg! Along with a shrill scream, a bloody hole appeared in between Lin Chen's eyebrows. The beautiful woman waved her hand. Lin Chen fell downwards, smashing into the ground with a thud, dying on the spot. Lin Chen. Didn't they say that he's following that devil Zuan? He called that person his master just now. Could that person be Zuan? The people were shocked. Everyone be quiet. I have something to announce. Yan Nanshan shouted. His voice spread in all directions. The crowd immediately shut their mouths. The entire East City fell into a dead silence. All of this is Zuan's trick. Qin Feiyang was wrongly accused. Yan Nanshan slowly explained the whole matter from beginning to end. So that's how it is. I knew it. Qin Feiyang is such a kind young man. How could he do such a thing? How dare he frame Qin Feiyang? That devil Zuan deserves to die. Kill him. The people were filled with righteous indignation. Their voices shook the sky. Whoosh! At this moment, Run Wushuang flew over with Wolf King, Fatso, Lu Hong and Shui Ying. How is it? Qin Feiyang asked. From now on the Lin family will cease to exist. Fatso smiled coldly. What? You destroyed the Lin family? Yan Nanshan and the other two's expressions changed. They looked at them in shock. What's the use of keeping such a family alive? Wolf King's eyes were full of disdain. The King of Yen clenched his fists tightly. His knuckles cracked as he said sternly, You're insane. Humph. Fatso snorted. He looked down at the crowd and said loudly, The Lin family colluded with Zuan. Their crime is unforgivable. We've just eliminated the Lin family. From now on, the Lin family will cease to exist in Yen City. Good job. Anyone who colludes with the devil's one should be killed. The people cheered loudly. Lu Hong pursed her lips and smiled. King of Yen, if you hold us accountable now, I'm afraid everyone will think that you're in cahoots with Xuan. The King of Yen was so angry that smoke was coming out of his head. This group of people is despicable. Fatso did not care at all. He kicked Xuan and sneered. Old man, weren't you very arrogant at the Eagle Claw Peak? Come on, get up and fight with the Fat Lord if you have the guts. Qin Feiyong and the others rolled their eyes. Why didn't Fatso act so arrogantly before Xuan was injured? Swoosh! The group landed on the square outside the palace. Qin Feiyong found Xuan's Chenkuan bag and threw it on the ground. Ma Cheng shouted, Qin Feiyong, what are you doing? Qin Feiyong looked at him in confusion. Ma Cheng said, the formula for the blood spirit pill must be in Xuan's Chenkuan bag. I have reason to suspect that you want to take the formula for yourself since you took his Chenkuan bag. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Lu Hong said in a low voice, Temple Master Ma, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. If that's the case, then hand over your Chenkuan bag. Ma Cheng sneered. Qin Feiyong looked at Ma Cheng and suddenly realized something. He said lightly, I think you want the formula for the blood spirit pill. What nonsense are you talking about? Don't slander me. Ma Cheng was furious. His face was gloomy to the extreme. You know very well whether I'm talking nonsense or not. Qin Feiyong sneered. He had to get rid of this person sooner or later. This was because if it wasn't for Ma Cheng, Feng Cheng and He Xiong would not have died. He had not forgotten this debt and had always kept it in his heart. Ma Cheng and King Yan's faces were very ugly. Yan Nanshan raised his eyebrows when he saw the atmosphere was getting more and more serious. All right, just destroy the Chenkuan bag. What's there to quarrel about? That's good too, in case someone with bad intentions tries to frame us. Qin Feiyong threw the Chenkuan bag to Yan Nanshan directly. Yan Nanshan grabbed it and squeezed hard. The Chenkuan bag was crushed into pieces. Once the Chenkuan bag was crushed, the things inside would also be destroyed. Qin Feiyong looked at Ma Cheng and said lightly, now you won't say that I want to take the formula for myself, right? Don't do it unless you don't want others to know. Ma Cheng sneered. Haha, Xuan, who was lying on the ground, suddenly laughed. Interesting, really interesting. I'll tell you the truth. The formula for the Blood Evil Temple is not in the Chenkuan bag at all. If any of you want it, put your head over here and I'll tell him. Xuan looked at them mockingly. Qin Feiyong's eyes narrowed. The formula had to be destroyed, or there would be endless trouble. He reached out his hand without hesitation and grabbed Xuan. You really want to take the formula for yourself? Ma Cheng sneered and slapped Qin Feiyong's hand away. He grabbed Xuan before Qin Feiyong could. Qin Feiyong's face darkened. Seeing Ma Cheng slandering Qin Feiyong one after another, Fatso could not help but explode. Old man, are you a fucking idiot? If boss really wants the formula for the Blood Evil Temple, he would have cooperated with Xuan in Black Bear City. Even an idiot can think of this, but you're like a dog, biting and not letting go. Did your mother break your brain when she gave birth to you? He pointed at Ma Cheng's nose in front of everyone and scolded him. I'm going to kill you. Ma Cheng was burning with anger. No one had ever dared to scold him like this. He waved his hand and shot a battle chi at Fatso. How dare you? The lion-headed eagle shouted and stood in front of Fatso, saving Fatso's life. It stared fiercely at Ma Cheng and said, How dare you bully my little brother? Are you tired of living? Little brother? Qin Feiyong was stunned. When did Fatso hook up with the lion-headed eagle? Ma Cheng glanced at Qin Feiyong and the others and said, Yan Nanshan, I need an explanation. Slap. Immediately, the crisp sound of a slap was heard. Everyone present was dumbfounded. They did not expect Yan Nanshan to slap Ma Cheng's face directly. Ma Cheng was stunned. Is this explanation enough? Yan Nanshan glared angrily at Ma Cheng and roared, Fatty is right. Your brain must be damaged. That's why you're so stupid. He did not want to fall out with Ma Cheng. However, Ma Cheng was asking for a beating. Chapter 262. There was a dead silence. Even the King of Yen was tongue-tied. After being together for so long, this was the first time he saw Yan Nanshan so angry. However, Ma Cheng was really stupid. Even if Qin Feiyong wanted the formula of the blood spirit pill, he would not do it in public. Wasn't he asking to be humiliated? Swoosh! Ma Cheng came back to his senses and stared at Yan Nanshan. What's wrong? Are you still not convinced? As the hall master of the Danwang Hall, aren't you ashamed of slandering a 16-year-old young man in public? Yan Nanshan sneered. Ma Cheng's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Yan Nanshan, just you wait. I won't let this go. Yan Nanshan sneered. I'll accompany you to the end. All right. Ma Cheng threw Zuan aside and flew into the air. He would only continue to embarrass himself if he stayed here. Zuan laughed. Ma Cheng, the formula's with Jia He. Go and get it. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and grabbed Zuan's clothes. He said angrily, where is the formula? Didn't I tell you? It's with Jia He. If you rush there now, you should still be able to make it. Otherwise, Ma Cheng will take it away. Zuan sneered. Qin Feiyong's eyes were gloomy. He really did not know whether he should believe Zuan's words. Suddenly, he laughed. Zuan, you're really something. You're still trying to drive a wedge between me and Ma Cheng when you're about to die? Unfortunately, not everyone is as stupid as Ma Cheng. Qin Feiyong sneered. Zuan's pupil shrank. He said mockingly, is that so? Are you really that smart? Qin Feiyong said, I'm not smart enough. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been tricked by you last time. But at least you're in my hands now. Zuan sneered. Then we'll wait and see. I'm afraid you won't have the chance. Qin Feiyong took out the Chong Shui and chopped off Zuan's head. Blood spurted out from the bowl-sized wound. Qin Feiyong exhaled deeply, before he turned toward Yan Nanshan and the beautiful woman and said, Hall leader, elder, I'm a little tired. I'll be heading back first. Yan Nanshan smiled. Go and have a good rest. We will clean up the remnants of the blood slaughter palace. Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded and looked at Ren Wushuang. Sister, take us back. Ren Wushuang waved her jade-like hand and led Qin Feiyong and the others away in a streak of light. Upon entering the northern district, Qin Feiyong said to Old Eagle, do me a favor and go take a look at the Danwang Hall. Lion-headed Eagle asked in confusion. Didn't you say that Zuan is trying to sow discord? Better to be safe than sorry. Qin Feiyong was somewhat worried. All right. Wait for my news. Lion-headed Eagle flapped its wings and disappeared into the night sky. It could freely change its size and sneak into the Danwang Hall without anyone noticing. It was as easy as drinking water. Lu Hong retracted her gaze and said in a low voice, I can see that Ma Cheng and King Yan are getting more and more determined to kill you. You have to be careful. I've already sensed it. Qin Feiyong nodded. Lu Hong asked, have you thought of a countermeasure? Let's wait for Old Eagle to come back. Qin Feiyong said, his eyes flickering. Soothing Lake. They landed beside the lake. Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment and said to Wolf King and Ren Wushuang, I want to talk to Aunt Shui alone. After they entered the attic, Qin Feiyong summoned Luo Qianxue out of thin air. Qin Feiyong turned to face her and said, Aunt Shui, I'm sorry. This is all I can do. It's enough. Luo Qianxue squeezed out a smile. Before Senior Zhang died, he left me a bloody robe and asked me to take good care of you and Qingzhu. But, Qin Feiyong took out the bloody robe and looked at the shocking words on it. He felt terrible. This is fate. Back then Jiang Zhengyi and I fell in love at first sight. In less than half a year, we promised to marry each other and got pregnant with Qingzhu. But because I was just a woman from an ordinary family, I was firmly opposed by his family. I thought that he would face it with me. But in the end, he chose to escape and left alone. I was so disappointed in him that I left the Zhang family and lived in Iron Ox Town. Not long after Qingzhu was born, he received the news and came to me to ask for my forgiveness. And because of this he fell out with the Zhang family. I couldn't forgive him, but I couldn't deprive him of his right to be a father. Qingzhu would only suffer if she followed me, so I let him raise Qingzhu. Actually, after more than 10 years I don't hate him anymore. But unfortunately, I don't have the chance to tell him now. Luo Qianxue said faintly. So this is the conflict of the Jiang family. Qin Feiyong sighed deeply. Was family background really so important? As long as two people loved each other and could be happy, wasn't it better than anything else? Aunt Shui Senior Zhang really cared about you. Last time in the treasure pavilion, he even asked me to help him get your forgiveness. If he could hear your words, I believe that he would be able to rest in peace in the underworld. Qin Feiyang said. Luo Qianxue shed tears unknowingly. Whoosh! At this moment, the lion-head eagle looked at Luo Qianxue and said telepathically, boy, Xuan didn't lie. Jia He really did have the formula for the blood demon pill. Qin Feiyang was shocked and thought, did he take the initiative to hand it over? No. After he and that he guy saw the pill recipe, they destroyed it. They thought that they did it secretly, but they didn't expect that I saw the whole process. The lion-head eagle sneered. Destroyed it? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. This was going to be difficult. Although the eagle saw it with his own eyes, he couldn't convict Ma Chong and Elder He without evidence. They would definitely deny it. Qin Feiyang thought, why don't you record it with the image crystal? I can't speak. Why would I need the image crystal? The lion-head eagle rolled its eyes. Qin Feiyang said, after they get the formula, they will definitely start to make the blood demon pill. Can you help to keep an eye on them? Boy, you are smart, but sometimes you are stupid. Xuan's matter is not over yet. How can they commit a crime at this time? The lion-head eagle looked at him disdainfully and flew back to the pavilion. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. Luo Qianxue wiped her tears and asked Qin Feiyang, Feiyang, what are you going to do next? I am going to the state capital. Qin Feiyang didn't hide his thoughts. He had broken through to the 7-star martial ancestor realm. With his current speed, it wouldn't take long for him to step into the combat emperor realm. He would be able to protect himself in the state capital. Luo Qianxue nodded and said, you are very talented. The stage in the county of Yan is too small for you. Qin Feiyang smiled. His stage was not in the county of Yan or the state capital. It was in the imperial capital. However, before he left the county of Yan, he had to deal with Ma Chong, Prince Yan, and Elder He first. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Aunt Shui, go and rest for a while. Okay. You have to be careful too. Luo Qianxue reminded. I know. Qin Feiyang nodded and said to the attic, Lu Hong, arrange a room for Aunt Shui. Okay. Lu Hong walked out of the attic and said with a smile, Aunt Shui, come with me. After the two entered the attic, Qin Feiyang lowered his head and pondered. Outside, the killing continued until dawn. Manager Li came to the soothing lake after he finished his work. He saw Qin Feiyang standing by the lake and thinking about something. Manager Li walked up and said with a smile, Mr. Qin, what are you thinking about? You look so deep in thought. Qin Feiyang looked up and said with a smile, you look so energetic. Looks like the operation went smoothly. Nonsense. The 4 super forces came out in full force. How could it not go smoothly? However, I didn't expect the Blood Slaughter Palace to develop so fast. We killed more than 3,000 people. Manager Li shook his head and sighed. So many? Qin Feiyang was also surprised. They had developed so much in less than 2 years. If Xuan had a few more years, the Blood Slaughter Palace would have infiltrated every corner of the county of Yan. Manager Li asked, where is Madame? Qin Feiyang said, she is resting in the attic. Manager Li said with a smile, I am here to take her to the treasure pavilion. You don't have a problem with that, do you? Not now. It's not over yet. Qin Feiyang shook his head. What do you mean? Manager Li was surprised. Qin Feiyang said, Ma Chong and Elder He got the recipe of the Blood Slaughter Palace. I have been thinking about how to make them show up. Are they looking for death? Manager Li was furious. Destroying the recipe was forbidden by the first-generation emperor. As the Lord of the Danwang Hall and the Elder of Law Enforcement, they were breaking the law. They had just gotten rid of Xuan, and now Ma Chong appeared. Why didn't they stop? Creak. At this moment, Ren Wushuang pushed the door open and walked out. After a night of rest, she was glowing. She was even more charming than before. Qin Feiyang looked over and his eyes flashed slightly. He said, Sister, contact Wang Hong immediately. Ren Wushuang was stunned. She shook her head and said with a smile, I lied to them. Although I know Wang Hong, we have not established a contract. Qin Feiyong was stunned. Ren Wushuang smiled and said, but it is not difficult to inform Wang Hong. Have you thought it through? Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded. No matter what, Ma Chong and the others could not be allowed to stay in the county of Yan. Ren Wushuang took out the image crystal. Manager Li looked at the two of them suspiciously. He suddenly thought of something and hurriedly held out his hand. Miss Wushuang, wait. He looked at Qin Feiyong and frowned. Are you going to tell the higher-ups about this? Qin Feiyong did not deny it. Manager Li said anxiously, but have you ever thought that you will implicate Yan Nanshan? Qin Feiyong said, if I was not afraid of implicating the hall master, I would have told him. But now I have no choice. I also believe that the hall master will agree with me. Chapter 263. Qin Feiyong nodded at Ren Wushuang. Ren Wushuang channeled his battle aura into the image crystal. In less than a moment, a young figure quickly appeared. It was a young man in purple. He was about 24 or 25 years old. His eyebrows were sharp, and he had an imposing appearance. One look and one could tell that his cultivation was high. Wushuang, it's really you. Seeing Ren Wushuang, the young man was pleasantly surprised. Ren Wushuang smiled. Lu Xingchen, long time no see. Wushuang, where have you been for the past 20 years? We've searched everywhere in the state capital, but there was no news of you. You didn't reply to our messages. We all thought you were dead. Lu Xingchen was puzzled. It was obvious that this person was close to Ren Wushuang. Ren Wushuang said, it's a long story. I'll tell you when I get back to the state capital. Right now, I want to ask you for a favor. Lu Xingchen looked at him unhappily. Why are you being so polite with me? Just say it. Ren Wushuang said, help me inform Commander Wang Hong and ask him to come to the county of Yan. You're in the county of Yan now? Lu Xingchen was surprised. Ren Wushuang nodded. Lu Xingchen said, it's easy to inform him, but we need a reason. Ren Wushuang said in a low voice, tell him that someone in the county of Yan is refining blood-killing pills. What? Who's so bold? Lu Xingchen was furious. Ren Wushuang said, it's too complicated to explain. Go and tell Wang Hong that I'll be waiting for him at the Soothing Lake in the Martial Imperial Hall. Okay. Lu Xingchen nodded, and the image quickly dissipated. Qin Feiyong walked to Ren Wushuang's side and said with a smile, sis, this Lu Xingchen seems to be interested in you. Ren Wushuang rolled his eyes at him and warned, this person is not a kind person. When you go to the state capital in the future, you'd better stay away from him. Really? I couldn't tell. Qin Feiyong was shocked. Ren Wushuang sighed and said, some people are too good at disguising themselves. You can't see their character from their appearance. In short, no matter where you go or who you face in the future, you have to be careful. Qin Feiyong was stunned. These words made him think of Uncle Yuan. During his 5 years in Iron Ox Town, Uncle Yuan had told him more than once. I wonder where the old man is now? Is your body okay? Whoosh! Suddenly, a white figure silently descended above the Soothing Lake. He was a middle-aged man with a square face. He had thick eyebrows, big eyes, and a black eye patch over his left eye. It was Wang Hong. He was like air. Qin Feiyong and the others didn't notice his arrival. Wang Hong glanced below. His figure flickered and landed beside the lake. Who is it? Qin Feiyong and the others were shocked. When they saw Wang Hong, they immediately cupped their hands and said, Greetings, Master Wang Hong. Wang Hong glanced at Qin Feiyong and Manager Li. His gaze landed on Ren Wushuang. His cold face had a hint of joy. He took out the Heaven's Eye stone and expressionlessly said to Ren Wushuang, Come here. Ren Wushuang knew that Wang Hong wanted to confirm her identity. He walked up and placed his hand on the Heaven's Eye stone. A moment passed. The Heaven's Eye stone didn't show any reaction. Wang Hong put away the Heaven's Eye stone and sized up Ren Wushuang. He said with dissatisfaction, After 20 years, you are only a 1-star combat emperor. You have disappointed me. I believe that if your grandfather knew, he would be extremely disappointed too. I'm sorry. Ren Wushuang bowed and said. There was a trace of self-blame in his eyes. Grandfather? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Wang Hong sighed and said, "We'll talk about your matter when we get back. Tell me, what's the matter with the blood demon pill?" Ren Wushuang looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "You tell Senior Wang Hong." "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. Wang Hong also looked at Qin Feiyang. How did he become a 7-star martial ancestor so quickly? He saw through Qin Feiyang's cultivation with a glance. He was surprised. "Senior Wang Hong, it's like this. Back then there was a person called Zwen." Qin Feiyang told him everything he knew in detail, including the matter of Ma Chong and Elder He embezzling the pill formula. After listening, Wang Hong's indifferent face became even colder. Such a big matter and they didn't report it. It seems that they've grown wings. Qin Feiyang said, "Senior, I have a request." "Say it," Wang Hong said. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, "Although Yan Nanshan is also wrong, he is an upright and selfless person. I hope you can forgive him." Wang Hong snorted and said, "You're also guilty. Why are you still in the mood to care about him?" "What am I guilty of?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. "The last time I came to Yen City, you should have told me the truth. That way Jiang Jingyi wouldn't have died. But you didn't report it. If it weren't for Ma Chong and Elder He embezzling the pill formula of the blood demon pill, I'm afraid that you would continue to help them hide it. Qin Feiyang, you're a smart young man. How could you do such a foolish thing?" Wang Hong's face was full of anger. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang's heart was filled with bitterness. Wang Hong said, "I know that you care about Yan Nanshan and don't want him to be punished, but you should think about the big picture." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said sincerely, "Senior, you're right. I'll keep it in mind." Wang Hong looked at him deeply and sighed. "Fine. Since you're the one who came up with the plan to wipe out the Blood Slaughter Palace, I won't hold you responsible." "Thank you, Senior." "Then Yan Nanshan." Qin Feiyang looked at him pleadingly. "I'll seriously consider how to punish Yan Nanshan. Now let's talk about Ma Chong and Elder He. Are you sure they embezzled the pill formula of the blood demon pill?" Wang Hong asked seriously. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, "I'm sure. Old Eagle saw it with his own eyes. But I have no evidence." Wang Hong frowned. Ren Wushuang looked at Wang Hong and said, "I can testify." Wang Hong pondered for a moment and said, "Since you can testify, then it must be true. Inform Yan Nanshan, Prince Yan, Ma Chong, and Elder He to see me immediately." Steward Li hurriedly took out an image crystal to inform the 4 of them. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Hong, then looked at Ren Wushuang. His heart was filled with disbelief. Before Ren Wushuang spoke, Wang Hong was still hesitating. But when she testified, Wang Hong believed her without a doubt. What was the background of this cheap sister? And from Wang Hong's tone, Ren Wushuang's grandfather seemed to have a powerful background. Why is Wang Hong here? And at such a critical moment? Yan Nanshan and the other 3 rushed to the soothing lake when they received the news. Whoosh! In less than 10 breaths, the 4 of them landed by the lake and walked to Wang Hong. They bowed and said, "Greetings, my lord." Wang Hong glanced at the 4 of them and said nothing. He raised his arm and a ray of battle chi pierced through the air and entered Elder He's glabella. Ah! Elder He fell to the ground and died. His scream echoed in the air above the soothing lake and did not dissipate for a long time. What happened? Yan Nanshan, Prince Yan, and Ma Chong turned pale when they saw this. Wang Hong looked at the 3 of them expressionlessly and asked, "Do you know why I killed Elder He? Please tell us, my lord." The 3 of them bowed and said. Wang Hong said, "Because he took the formula of the blood-killing pill." The 3 of them trembled, but their expressions were slightly different. Yan Nanshan and Prince Yan were shocked. Obviously they only knew about it now. On the other hand, panic flashed in Ma Cheng's eyes. Although he hid it well, Wang Hong and Qin Feiyang still caught it. Wang Hong shouted, "Ma Chong, do you know your crime?" Ma Chong trembled and knelt on the ground hurriedly. "My lord, I know my crime. I did not supervise Elder He properly and allowed him to commit such a serious crime. Please punish me, my lord. Until now you're still playing dumb. Tell me, why did you take the formula of the blood-killing pill?" Wang Hong shouted. Ma Chong shook his head and said, "I don't know either. Maybe Elder He was confused and did such a stupid thing." Wang Hong clenched his fists and said in a low voice, Don't test my patience. I'm not asking him, I'm asking you. Why did you take the formula? Me? My lord, I didn't. Did Qin Feiyong say something to you? My lord, I'm innocent. Qin Feiyong and I have a grudge. He wanted to use this opportunity to avenge a personal grudge. Please investigate. To tell you the truth, Qin Feiyong even found an excuse to destroy the Lin family last night. Although he is young, he is shrewd. Even we are inferior to him. Ma Cheng's eyes were full of resentment. Wang Hong raised his eyebrows and turned to look at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong's eyes flickered. He nodded and said, Senior, I don't deny that I did have some selfish motives. Before he finished, Wang Hong waved his hand and said, We'll talk about this later. Then he lowered his head and looked at Ma Cheng. Originally, considering that you have been in charge of the Danwang Hall for so many years and have worked hard, I wanted to give you a chance to admit your mistakes and turn over a new leaf. But I didn't expect you to be so stubborn. I hate people like you the most, who are incorrigible. Wang Hong raised his arm and battle chi appeared at his fingertips. His eyes were full of killing intent. Ma Cheng's heart trembled. He hurriedly said, My lord, please spare my life. I'm really innocent. Please don't listen to slander, Dai. Wang Hong said coldly, interrupting Ma Cheng. Whoosh! Ma Cheng's heart sank. He suddenly jumped out and grabbed Qin Feiyong with one hand and Ren Wuxuang with the other. Ma Cheng, what are you doing? Let's talk nicely. Don't mess around. Yan Nanshan's face suddenly changed and he hurriedly shouted. Wang Hong also lowered his arm. His eyes were gloomy. However, his other hand had retracted back into his sleeve without leaving a trace. Haha. I have indeed seen the formula for the blood spirit pill. It's in my head now. Come and get it if you dare. Ma Cheng held Qin Feiyong and Ren Wuxuang hostage. He looked at Wang Hong and the others unscrupulously and laughed wildly. Wang Hong frowned and said, So, you really want to refine the blood spirit pill? That's right. I sacrificed so much for the Danwang Hall. What did I get in return? Look at you, Lord Wang Hong. You didn't do anything and you can order us around. What right do you have? Isn't it because of your strength? As long as I have enough strength, even if I refine the blood spirit pill, who would dare to say a word? Chapter 264. What are you doing? Old man, don't you know whose territory this is? Let go of our boss immediately, or else don't blame Fat Lord for digging up your ancestral grave and making sure that your ancestors will not be able to rest in peace. Fatso, Lu Hong and Wolf King ran out from the pavilion with a fierce look on their faces. Luo Qianxue followed behind them with a worried look on her face. When Ma Cheng heard this, he was instantly enraged and said coldly, I will kill you all sooner or later. Enough! Yan Nanshan shouted and said in a deep voice, Ma Cheng, I didn't expect you to be so crazy. Brother Ma, you are looking down on the emperor's prestige and blaspheming the emperor's authority. Repent and be saved. I believe that Master Wang Hong will be lenient with you. King Yan also tried to persuade Ma Cheng. I am looking down on the emperor's prestige and blaspheming the emperor's authority. Why am I insulting the emperor here? Who can do anything to me? If worse comes to worst, I will enter the land of ruins, change my appearance and hide my identity. Who can find me then? Ma Cheng's face was filled with madness. He already had nothing left to lose. Do you really think that you will be fine after escaping into the land of ruins? If that's the case, I can only say that you are a frog in a well. You don't know how big the outside world is. Qin Feiyong said indifferently. Ma Cheng shouted, Shut up. If you dare to say another word, I will kill you all. You don't dare to kill us because you will only die if you do. However, using my sisters and my life in exchange for the life of an 8-star combat emperor, it's actually quite worth it. Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Ma Cheng said coldly, Are you not afraid of death? Humans will die sooner or later. It is a worthy death to drag you down to hell with me. Qin Feiyong smiled and didn't care at all. Usually, the one who was scared in such a situation was the one who was being held hostage. Instead, it was Ma Cheng, the person who held the hostage, who couldn't help but panic. No, I have to leave quickly, he muttered secretly. If this continued, it would only be worse for him. If anyone dares to chase after me, I will kill them. Ma Cheng swept a cold glance at Wang Hong and the others. He prepared to soar into the sky with Qin Feiyong and Ren Wushuang. What should we do? Yan Nanshan's heart was burning with anxiety as he looked at Wang Hong for help. At the same time, Qin Feiyong winked at Ren Wushuang. Ma Cheng, there's no need for you to do anything. My sister and I will end our own lives. Before he could finish his sentence, the two of them raised their hands at the same time and patted their chests. Damn it! Ma Cheng was shocked and hurriedly stopped the two. If the two of them really died here, he wouldn't be able to escape even if he grew 9 pairs of wings. However, just as he was panicking, Wang Hong decisively made a move. Battle Chi shot out from his fingertips and entered Ma Cheng's glabella at lightning speed. Blood gushed out. Bang! Ma Cheng immediately let out a blood-curdling scream and fell to the ground powerlessly. He was dead. Who? Yan Nanshan, Fatso and the others heaved a sigh of relief. Qin Feiyong also patted his chest with lingering fear. Although he looked relaxed earlier, he was actually extremely nervous. He kicked Ma Cheng's body and muttered, "It's finally settled. Black Bear King Elder Feng, you can rest in peace now." Immediately after, Qin Feiyong looked at Wang Hong in confusion. Wang Hong could have killed Ma Cheng immediately before, but why didn't he do so? Wang Hong smiled and stretched out his hand that had retracted into his sleeve. In his hand, there was an image crystal that emitted a faint brilliance. Wang Hong explained, "Although I believe Ren Wushuang, Ma Cheng is after all the hallmaster of the Danwang Hall. Now that he is dead, I have to give the mansion master an explanation." Qin Feiyong suddenly understood. It turned out that Wang Hong was still forcing Ma Cheng to tell the truth. Even he was being used. Indeed, the older the wiser. Wang Hong said confidently, "Even if Ma Cheng held you hostage, it would be easy for me to kill him. However, I didn't expect you to be so smart." Qin Feiyong scratched his head and laughed dryly. He was a little embarrassed by the compliment. Wang Hong's face became extremely cold again. He said, "However, you killed the entire Lin family. This crime is punishable by death." Qin Feiyong's face changed. He hurriedly said, "I can explain." Wang Hong said, "I'm not interested in the feud between you. There's no need to explain." Looking at Wang Hong's face and hearing his tone, Yan Nanshan, Fatso and the others couldn't help but feel anxious. However, the king of Yen was gloating at the side. Wang Hong swept his gaze over everyone present, taking in everyone's expressions. His eyes flashed slightly. He looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "I'll give you a chance. If you can enter the state capital alive, I'll let bygones be bygones." "Thank you, senior." Qin Feiyong was stunned. He hurriedly cupped his hands and thanked him. This was because this was not a punishment at all. Wang Hong had said that if Qin Feiyong didn't go to the state capital with him, he would have to rely on his own efforts if he wanted to go there in the future. Therefore, strictly speaking, this was actually a test. That's great. Yan Nanshan and the others were overjoyed when they came back to their senses. Only the king of Yan's expression was a little unpleasant. Wang Hong said, "Don't be happy too early. You're not allowed to be escorted to the state capital. You'll have to rely on your own efforts." "I won't let you down." Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and said. Wang Hong nodded. He looked at Yan Nanshan and the king of Yen and said coldly, "Zuan's matter is very serious. How dare you hide it from me? How should you be punished?" The two of them were shocked. They turned to look at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong's face was full of apology. This was his apology to Yan Nanshan. Wang Hong shouted, "Don't look at him." The two of them trembled. They hurriedly said, "We're sorry. We're willing to accept the punishment." Wang Hong said coldly, "I'll report this matter to the prefecture master and ask him to make a decision. As for the two of you, hurry up and clean up the mess." "Yes." The two of them bowed and replied, This is outrageous." Wang Hong glanced at the two of them and snorted. He waved his hand and a teleportation door quickly opened. He said, "Ren Wushuang, come back with me." Ren Wushuang was a little hesitant. He glanced at Qin Feiyong from the corner of his eyes. Wang Hong frowned and said, "He has his own path to take. Don't interfere." Qin Feiyang looked at Ren Wuxuang and said with a smile, "Sister, don't worry about me. I'll go to the state capital to look for you." Ren Wuxuang nodded and said, "All right. Be careful on your way." Qin Feiyang, after crossing the desert of death and the sea of despair, you will reach the boundary of the state capital. Take care of yourself. Don't tell a third person about the route to the state capital. Wang Hong stepped into the teleportation door. But his voice sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. Qin Feiyang was stunned on the spot. This was a soul sound transmission. Only an existence that surpassed the War Emperor could do this. Ren Wuxuang also brought Xue Ying and Old Eagle and walked into the teleportation door. Soon, the teleportation door disappeared. I never thought that Wang Hong's strength would be so strong. He has surpassed the War Emperor and is an expert that people look up to, Qin Feiyang muttered. But soon after, a bitter smile crawled up his face again. To go to the state capital, he actually had to pass through the desert of death? He had personally experienced the danger of the desert of death. With his little strength, he was simply sending himself to his death. Not to mention the sea of despair. Qin Feiyang, you are really ruthless. After using us, you reported this matter to the higher-ups. I have never seen such a sinister person like you. An ear-piercing voice pulled Qin Feiyang back to reality. He raised his head and looked at King Yan. King Yan's face was filled with resentment. Qin Feiyang said indifferently, "In terms of being sinister, I reckon that even if 10 of me were added together, I wouldn't be able to catch up to you. Yan Nanshan, did you see that? This is the disciple that you have been protecting. He is a white-eyed wolf. Sooner or later, you will be tricked to death by him." King Yan sneered and left through the air. Yan Nanshan frowned. Qin Feiyang said, "Palace Master, Yan Nanshan reached out his hand to stop him from continuing. His brows relaxed as he smiled. "I know that it was because of Ma Cheng and Elder He that you reported it. I won't blame you." Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, Palace Master." Yan Nanshan said, "All right, don't blame yourself. Have a good rest. I will leave first." Qin Feiyang nodded. Yan Nanshan waved his hand and swept up Ma Cheng and Elder He's corpses. He turned into a stream of light and left quickly. Did I really do something wrong? Qin Feiyang muttered to himself. Kid, you didn't do anything wrong. If you didn't do this, Ma Cheng and Old He would cause trouble sooner or later. By then the situation would be even more serious. When the matter is exposed, Yan Nanshan will face an even greater punishment. Thinking about it, you still helped Yan Nanshan by reporting it now. Stewardly patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder and comforted him with a smile. Qin Feiyang felt a little complicated. Stewardly smiled. All right, I should go back and deal with the aftermath. Madam, follow me back to the treasure pavilion. Luo Qianxue nodded and said, Feiyang, Stewardly is right. You are helping Yan Nanshan, not harming him. You don't have to blame yourself. Qin Feiyang said, Yes, when I am done, I will go to the treasure pavilion to visit you. You must take care of yourself. All right. Luo Qianxue smiled and left with Stewardly. They are all gone. It is finally over. Lu Hong let out a long sigh of relief. Fatso said, It is not over yet. Don't forget about King Pan and that strong man in golden armor. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, They are not in a hurry. We will deal with them later. The only thing I am concerned about now is how will the Palace Master punish the Palace Master? If Yan Nanshan died because of this, he would blame himself for the rest of his life. Whoosh! At this moment, Elder Wan flew through the air and landed by the lake. In his hand was a middle-aged man. It was Lin Chong, whom he had not seen for a long time. Elder Wan threw Lin Chong in front of Qin Feiyang and said, Not long ago, we found him in the Danwang Hall. After discussing with Elder Ji, we think it is better to let you deal with him. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and looked at Lin Chong. Suddenly, a cold light shot out from his eyes. Lin Chong looked panicked as he crawled to Qin Feiyang and begged, Feiyang, Uncle really knows his mistake this time. For Yi's sake, please give Uncle a way out. Then did you give Yi a way out? As Yi's father, you colluded with the Blood Slaughter Palace to deal with your own daughter. If I did not send Yi away first, she would have been killed by you. Even a vicious tiger will not eat its cubs. Chapter 265. I was just muddle-headed at that time. I swear that I will turn over a new leaf and take good care of Yi. Lin Chang's face was as pale as a sheet. He knew that Qin Feiyong wanted to kill him. Don't mention Yi in front of me. You have lost the right to be Yi's father from the moment you joined the blood-slaying palace. I have spared you many times. This time I will not let you go again. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Lin Chang roared, if you kill me, Yi will hate you. Qin Feiyong pointed at him. A piece of ice crystal appeared on his index finger. Lin Chang's glabella split open and blood gushed out. His eyes were filled with unwillingness as he fell to the ground. Blood splattered everywhere. I'd rather have Yi hate me than continue seeing you use her and hurt her, Qin Feiyong whispered. His eyes calmed down and he said to Fatso, bury him. Boss, you are too kind. If it was Fat Lord, he would have thrown a scum like him into the mountains to feed the beasts. Fatso's face was full of disdain. He carried Lin Chang's body and left quickly. Phew. Qin Feiyong heaved a long sigh. He looked up at Elder Wan and asked, did the temple master tell you? Yes. Elder Wan nodded. Qin Feiyong asked, will you and Elder Ji blame me? That has already happened. What's the point of blaming you? Elder Wan shook his head and sighed. This matter is too serious. I am afraid that the temple master will not only be dismissed but also lose his life. He won't. I will ensure his life, Qin Feiyong said with a firm gaze. I hope so. Elder Wan sighed deeply, turned around and flew away. Time flew by. 2 days later, Zuan's matter was finally settled. However, the discussions in various places did not stop. There was also a piece of news that spread rapidly in the city. It was said that Qin Feiyong's conscience was eaten by a dog, and he had betrayed Yan Nanshan. Many people expressed their doubts. Perhaps Qin Feiyong had his own reasons for doing so. But there was no doubt. His image took a nosedive. Many people were cursing him behind his back. Qin Feiyong didn't get angry when he received the news. However, Fatso and Lu Hong immediately wanted to fight for him. They had also guessed that the King of Yan must be behind this. However, he was stopped by Qin Feiyong. As long as he had a clear conscience, it was fine as long as he had a clear conscience. 5 days later, Wang Hong descended once again. Martial Imperial Hall, Conference Hall. All the war emperors of the county of Yan were summoned. This included the various big shots of Star Moon City. There was the manager of the Precious Treasure Pavilion, the 4 law enforcement elders of the Danwang Hall and the Martial Imperial Hall, as well as the City Lord of Star Moon City. It was Qin Feiyong's first time meeting these people. Wang Hong sat at the top. The various big shots stood in the center of the hall, their expressions extremely respectful. Qin Feiyong stood outside the door, looking at Wang Hong nervously without saying a word. Don't worry. Wang Hong is a good person. I'm sure the governor is a reasonable person. He won't hurt the palace lord. Fatso, Lu Hong, and Wolf King stood behind Qin Feiyong and comforted him softly. In the hall, there was dead silence. Wang Hong glanced at the group of people and said in a deep voice, is everyone here? Yan Nanshan said, sir, everyone is here. Very well, I'll announce it now. After careful consideration by the governor and the emperor, I've made the following decision. Yan Nanshan and Wei Zhongyang concealed the truth and almost caused the county of Yan to be destroyed. With immediate effect, the King of Yan and the Martial Imperial Hall are dismissed from their positions as palace lords. Follow me to the state capital and await your punishment. Jiang Jingyi and Ma Chang are dead. We won't pursue the matter. Any objections? Wang Hong said loudly. No. Yan Nanshan and the rest shook their heads. However, the King of Yan turned to look at Qin Feiyong outside the door. His eyes were filled with hatred. Humph, I don't think any of you would dare to object to such a grave mistake. Wang Hong snorted and took out a document. He continued, this is the appointment document from the governor. The Martial Imperial Hall's palace lord will be succeeded by Elder Ji Shueji. The Danwang Hall's palace lord will be succeeded by Wu Yun, the law-enforcing elder of the Danwang Hall in Xingyue City. The county king of Pan County will be succeeded by Zhang Yi, the city lord of Xingyue City. The chief pavilion lord of Precious Treasure Pavilion will be succeeded by Steward Li Ji. The rest of you will do your best to assist them in managing the county of Yan. Wang Hong put away the document after he finished reading. Yes, sir. Everyone bowed and said. Wang Hong stood up and glanced at everyone. He said coldly, I'm giving all of you a warning. If something similar happens again, kill without mercy. Everyone shuddered. Wang Hong opened a portal and said to Yan Nanshan and Wei Zhongyang, let's go. Wei Zhongyang was the Prince of Yan's real name. Qin Feiyang's expression changed. He hurriedly chased after Wang Hong and said, Senior, wait. What's the matter? Wang Hong frowned. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, Senior, please give us a way out. Wang Hong glanced at him and did not say anything. He stepped into the portal with Yan Nanshan and Wei Zhongyang. Qin Feiyang, I'll give you 5 years. If you don't report to the state capital after 5 years, Yan Nanshan will be executed in public. At the same time, Wang Hong's voice rang in Qin Feiyang's mind. Qin Feiyang was stunned. What was going on? Was he afraid that he would run away? Once Wang Hong left, everyone present could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Immediately there was a wave of compliments. Steward Li, congratulations on being promoted to Chief Pavilion Lord. Please take care of us in the future. Elder Ji, Elder Wu, and City Lord Zhang Yi, congratulations too. It was all just for show. It sounded nice. In reality it was meaningless. After a while they left in 2s and 3s. Zhang Yi walked in front of Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, Little brother, if you're free in the future, come visit the palace more often. Of course. Qin Feiyang smiled. Wu Yun also walked up and cupped his hands. Brother Qin, Ma Cheng is no longer here. How about we write off our past grievances? Qin Feiyang nodded. Wu Yun was overjoyed and said with a smile, if that's the case, I'll officially invite Brother Qin to come to the Danwang Hall and be the law-enforcing elder. Law-enforcing elder? Fatso and Lu Hong were dumbfounded. If Qin Feiyang agreed, it would be tantamount to setting a precedent. This was because there had never been a martial arts grandmaster in the Danwang Hall as the law-enforcing elder. Steward Li, Elder Wan, the beautiful woman, and Zhang Yi froze on the spot and looked at Wu Yun in disbelief. Qin Feiyang was also stunned for a while. Wu Yun smiled and said, if it were someone else they wouldn't be qualified. But you're different. I have confidence in you. I hope Brother Qin can consider it. The beautiful woman said unhappily, Wu Yun, you're a new official and you're trying to poach someone from the Martial Imperial Hall right in front of me. That's ridiculous. Ji Shui, you can't blame me for this. Who asked Qin Feiyang to be so outstanding? Wu Yun didn't feel awkward at all. So you're blaming me? Qin Feiyang touched his nose and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Zhang Yi's eyes flashed and said, then I'll join in. Brother Qin, I'll leave the position of the Grand Commander for you. Let me tell you, don't go overboard. The beautiful woman was furious. Cough cough. Elder Wan let out a dry cough and said meaningfully, let them poach as long as they have the ability. The beautiful woman was stunned. Then she came to a realization and a playful smile appeared on her face. Qin Feiyang brought his fists together and said, thank you for your kindness, but I'll be heading to the state capital soon. So I can only apologize. The state capital. Wu Yun and Zhang Yi were stunned. They couldn't help but smile bitterly. That's right. How could the county of Yan keep such a monstrous talent? The state capital was the stage for this kid. The two of them didn't stay and left together. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He withdrew his gaze and looked at the beautiful woman and Manager Li. He chuckled and said, Hall Master Ji, Pavilion Master Li, congratulations. Do you have any gifts? How can you still smile? The beautiful woman glared at him and said worriedly, I wonder what kind of punishment Yan Nanshan will face. Don't worry. He'll be fine. Qin Feiyang smiled. 5 years was a long time. He was confident that he could report to the state capital. You're so confident? The beautiful woman was stunned and said in surprise, did Lord Wang Hong secretly tell you something? This is a secret. Qin Feiyang smiled mysteriously. The beautiful woman laughed and scolded, brat, are you asking for a beating? Well, I'll believe you for the time being. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, looked up at the beautiful woman and said, I want to ask you for a favor. The beautiful woman asked, Lin Yi? Qin Feiyang nodded and sighed. The only thing I'm worried about is her. The beautiful woman said, then, you might as well bring her along. I don't dare. Fengcheng asked me to take care of Fengling heir, but she died. Zhang Jingyi asked me to take care of Luo Qingzhu, but he died in the end. Lu Ji handed Ling Yunfei to me, but he's dead now. Maybe I'm a jinx. Qin Feiyong laughed at himself. The beautiful woman, Steward Li, and Elder Wan looked at each other with a complicated gaze. People at Qin Feiyong's age were basically still in their parents' arms. However, this young man was roaming the outside world alone, carrying one burden after another. They really couldn't figure out what Qin Feiyong's parents were thinking. Why did they put so much pressure on him? He was just a 16-year-old child. Sigh. The beautiful woman sighed faintly and smiled. I'll ask Elder Wan to bring Lin Yi to Yan City now. Let her have a good time with you. Qin Feiyong said, forget it. Meeting will only increase sadness. I should set off. Leaving so soon? The beautiful woman and Elder Wan frowned. After getting along for so long, they already had feelings for each other. They were a little reluctant to part suddenly. All good things must come to an end. Thank you seniors for taking care of me during this time. See you again. By the way, take care of Lu Ji. Qin Feiyong sincerely bowed to the two. Then, he sent Fatso and Lu Hong into the castle. Together with Wolf King, he followed Steward Li to Treasure Pavilion. He went to Treasure Pavilion mainly to say goodbye to Luo Qianxue. Knowing that Qin Feiyong was leaving, Luo Qianxue was also very reluctant. Chapter 266. Leaving Yan City. Qin Feiyong and Wolf King followed the main road and headed towards Xingyue City. They traveled during the day and entered the castle to cultivate at night. It only took them 5 days to reach the vicinity of Xingyue City. But he did not enter Xingyue City. He only looked from afar and continued to rush towards the desert of death. The people he met along the way all wanted to travel with him. Firstly, they wanted to get some supreme-grade elixirs. Secondly, they wanted to seek protection. Because with the current strength of the man and wolf, they could easily pass through the first 2 dangerous points. But they were all rejected by Qin Feiyong. He did not have the time or the mood to slowly waste time with these people. They smoothly arrived at the second safe point. The safe point was very simple. There was only a simple straw shed that could barely shelter them from the wind and rain. At this moment, there were more than 30 people gathered under the straw shed. Some were resting with their eyes closed. Some were discussing in a low voice. There were also a few people sitting by the bonfire barbecuing meat. These people were all adventurers going to the desert of death. There were different degrees of injuries on their bodies, and they emitted a pungent smell of blood. It could be said that everyone here was not to be trifled with. But when the man and wolf arrived, everyone stood up in unison and the flattery on their faces could be clearly seen. Qin Feiyong also nodded politely. After a short rest, they were ready to go to the third dangerous point. Brother Qin, please wait a moment. Seeing this, the few people who were barbecuing hurriedly stood up. Qin Feiyong stopped and turned to look at them in confusion. Brother Qin, we all know that you are very strong, but the beasts in the third dangerous point are really terrifying. I remember last year, there was a 9-star martial ancestor who thought that he was stronger than others and disdained to be companions. In the end, he was torn to pieces by those beasts. Brother Qin, we are not looking down on you. We are sincerely inviting you to go to the desert of death with us. The few people said. The others also stood up and tried to persuade him. Qin Feiyong and Wolf King looked at each other with a trace of surprise in their eyes. Qin Feiyong asked in confusion, what kind of beasts are they? It's a group of flying centipedes. One of them said as he kept swallowing his saliva. His eyes were filled with fear. Qin Feiyong felt a chill in his heart. The flying centipede was a venomous insect that made people stay away from it. Not only could it spit out a kind of numbing venom, it could also fly in the air for a short period of time. If he was bitten by it and didn't take the antidote pill in time, he would definitely lose his life. Thank you for your kind intentions. However, I still have urgent matters to attend to, so I can only leave first. Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and said, then left with Wolf King without looking back. He really doesn't know what's good for him. Everyone looked at the backs of the man and the wolf, their eyes flashing with an astonishing ferocious light. Something's wrong. There's no way he doesn't know how terrifying the flying centipede is. He must have something to rely on, that's why he dares to go alone. Let's hurry up and catch up. We might be able to fish in troubled waters and muddle our way through. The eyes of the group of people lit up, and they immediately chased after Qin Feiyong and Wolf King. Wolf King looked back at them and asked in confusion, "Little Qin Zi, brother flying centipede has also seen it. With our strength we can't get through at all. Why don't we join forces with them?" Qin Feiyong said with a smile, "Because I know the weakness of the flying centipede." "What weakness?" Wolf King was surprised. "There's a kind of spiritual medicine called heart-rotting grass. The smell it emits will make the flying centipede dizzy. As long as we put a stalk of heart-rotting grass on us, they won't dare to approach us. Fatso, look around and see if there's any heart-rotting grass," Qin Feiyong said. Fatso, who was in the castle, immediately searched in his Qiankuan bag when he heard that. Will it really work? Wolf King expressed his doubts. Whoosh! But at this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air suddenly rang out. Behind Qin Feiyong, 2 black arrows appeared. Like 2 poisonous snakes bearing their fangs, they shot toward the man and the wolf. "Be careful." Qin Feiyong's body and mind tightened. As he pushed Wolf King away, he moved his body horizontally. The 2 black arrows, with amazing sharpness, brushed past them and stabbed into the soil in front of them. Plumes of black smoke rose up. "It's poisonous." The man and the wolf flew into a rage and turned to look at the group of people behind them. Those people were also bewildered. "Brother Qin, don't misunderstand. We didn't shoot the arrows. Please believe us. We wouldn't do such a thing." Seeing Qin Feiyong and Wolf King looking at them, they hurriedly explained. "You're the only ones behind us. Who else could it be?" Wolf King's eyes flashed with a fierce light. "It really wasn't us. Those 2 arrows were shot from the forest next to us." "Who shot the arrows in the dark? Come out." The group of people glared at the forest on both sides, revealing a ruthless look. Still pretending. Wolf King was furious and his fierce aura erupted. "Don't be impulsive." Qin Feiyong grabbed him and glanced at the forest on both sides. His eyes flashed and he said telepathically, "Let's observe the situation first." The man and the wolf turned and continued to move forward, but they were secretly vigilant. The group of people behind them also breathed a sigh of relief. Although on the surface it didn't seem like they shot the arrows, Qin Feiyong didn't dare to lower his guard. Because these people were all desperados and were very good at disguising. But for a long time nothing unusual happened. "Strange. Who is it?" Qin Feiyong muttered. In the entire county of Yan, almost all the people who had a grudge against him had been killed. This shouldn't have happened. Could it be King Pan and Gold King? That couldn't be right. Not to mention that they were far away in the county of Pan. Just based on their strength, there was no need for them to use such underhanded means. Qin Feiyong pondered for a long time. In the end, he decided to target the group of people behind him, because only they were the most likely suspects. Several hours passed. Qin Feiyong stopped at a certain spot and took out a map. This was the map that Luo Qingzhu had drawn for him. The map was still there, but the people were dead. Looking at the map, Qin Feiyong felt inexplicably sad. She was such a kind-hearted girl. Why didn't the heavens pity her? Whoosh! This time, the murderous intent reappeared. 2 pitch-black arrows streaked across the sky like lightning, shooting towards the man and the wolf. "Little Qin Zi, get out of the way!" Wolf King shouted. It knocked Qin Feiyong away and quickly lay on the ground. The arrows flew over its head. The amazing sharpness and the cold aura made its fur stand on end. Qin Feiyong was also furious. He put away the map and looked at the group of people behind him. His eyes were full of murderous intent. "Bastards, I'm going to kill you!" Wolf King jumped up and rushed toward the group of people with amazing ferocity. "Brother Qin, Lord Wolf, it really wasn't us. We'll take responsibility for what we did." "Who's the bastard? Come out. If you have the guts, come out and admit it. What kind of man are you?" The group of people panicked. "Howl!" With a deafening howl, Wolf King rushed forward. A strong man was directly bitten in the throat and died on the spot. "Beast, don't go too far." I already said it wasn't us, but you still killed the innocent. Unforgivable. Do you really think we're afraid of you? Brothers, kill it. The group of people mobilized their battle chi and used martial arts techniques, fiercely rushing toward Wolf King. Wolf King used the 7 killing steps, killing one person with each step. Qin Feiyong didn't make a move. He glanced at the battlefield and the surrounding jungle. Suddenly, an arrow pierced through a leaf and appeared in the nearby jungle. Qin Feiyong's body and mind tightened. His body leaned back. Cold light surged in his eyes. When the arrow flew in front of him, Binding Tiger hand stretched out, directly grabbed the arrow and then threw it back. The arrow, like a bolt of lightning, swept into the jungle. Ah! At that moment, a cry of surprise sounded somewhere in the jungle. Qin Feiyong was about to chase in. Howl! At this time, Wolf King suddenly let out a painful howl. He hurriedly looked over and saw Wolf King lying on the ground. There was an arrow in his thigh, and the tip of the arrow was still bleeding, and the blood was turning black at a speed visible to the naked eye. Damn it! Qin Feiyong secretly cursed. Now, he finally figured out the purpose of the person who secretly shot the arrow. He wanted him and Wolf King to misunderstand that group of people. When they had friction with that group of people, he would take the opportunity to sneak attack and kill them in one shot. What a good plan. But who was it? He used the shifting smoke steps and rushed toward Wolf King. Whoosh! But at this time, several more arrows appeared and shot toward Qin Feiyong. Obviously, they wanted to stop him from saving Wolf King. Qin Feiyong was as light as a swallow and quickly dodged. He shouted to that group of people, "Quickly give it the antidote." Half of that group of people had been killed by Wolf King. Corpses were everywhere. The remaining dozen people were also looking at the jungle in surprise at this moment. But when they heard Qin Feiyong's roar, they suddenly became fierce. Why? It killed more than a dozen of our brothers and wants us to save it, is that possible? Now we will kill it in front of you. More than a dozen people laughed sinisterly and rushed toward Wolf King. But they underestimated the wolf's character. Even if a wolf was on the verge of death, it would fight back with its life. It would never wait for death. Wolf King stubbornly got up and quickly used the 7 kill steps. Its ferocious nature was completely exposed. Ah! Accompanied by a series of screams, people kept falling one after another. In less than 5 breaths, of the dozen people, only 5 were left. These 5 people were scared out of their wits. They didn't even pick up the weapons on the ground. They turned around and began to flee. Ow! Wolf King howled and chased crazily. But before he could take 2 steps, he fell to the ground with a bang, and black blood kept coming out of his mouth. The 5 people heard the movement and stopped. When they looked back, their eyes suddenly revealed a sinister smile. Without saying a word, they rushed toward Wolf King. Damn it! Qin Feiyong was burning with anxiety. Arrows constantly flew out from the jungle on both sides, blocking the road ahead. The tip of each arrow was smeared with poison. The air was filled with a foul smell. Seeing that Wolf King was about to die at the hands of those 5 people. Stop! We have all been used. As long as you save it, I will not only take you through the 3rd dangerous point, but also give you the best quality pill. Chapter 267. One of the brawny men grinned. Unless you give each of us a potential pill, there's no need to talk about it. Are you worthy of taking a potential pill? At this time, the dying Wolf King suddenly let out a fierce howl and pounced again. The brawny man's entire head was bitten off. Bang! 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 The head fell to the ground and rolled down the slope. There was still a hideous smile on his face. The other 4 people were scared stiff on the spot. The smell of urine permeated the air. Wolf King's eyes revealed a fierce light. In the blink of an eye, it finished off the 4 people. Bang! Wolf King also fell to the ground. This time it didn't get up again. The person hiding in the forest and shooting arrows couldn't help but tremble with fear when he saw this scene. Wolves were truly a frightening creature. Whoosh! 2 arrows shot out explosively. The target was Wolf King. Although it was deeply poisoned, because it was too fierce, the person hiding in the dark couldn't help but have the thought of ending its life quickly. At least 5 people. Qin Feiyong muttered. He took out a top-grade antidote pill and threw it into his mouth. Immediately, he rushed toward Wolf King like lightning. Puff! 4 arrows shot into his thigh, lower abdomen, and arm. Immediately blood spurted out like a fountain. But he didn't stop at all. Enduring the heart-wrenching pain, he pounced forward and grabbed Wolf King's tail. In the next moment they entered the castle. Boss! Fatso and Lu Hong immediately ran up. Without waiting for Qin Feiyong's order, Fatso took out a top-grade antidote pill and stuffed it into Wolf King's mouth. Damn it, who is it? Qin Feiyong half knelt on the ground, his eyes gloomy to the extreme. Bear with it, Lu Hong said softly and quickly pulled out the 4 arrows from Qin Feiyong's body. Throughout the entire process, Qin Feiyong didn't even frown. Lu Hong took out a best-grade healing pill and fed it to Qin Feiyong. Then she grabbed the arrows and examined them carefully. Soon, a cold light flashed in her eyes. She looked at Qin Feiyong and said, according to my observation, the materials used to make these arrows are very expensive, and the craftsmanship is very delicate. Only the 4 superpowers have the wealth and ability to make these arrows. Fatso frowned and said, but we have already killed those who should be killed. Who would still plot against us? Lu Hong shook her head. She couldn't figure it out either. Fatso said, could it be the newly appointed Wu Yun and Zhang Yi? Qin Feiyong stood up and said in a deep voice, there's no need to guess. We'll know once we catch them and ask them. The effect of a supreme-grade healing pill was much stronger than that of an ordinary healing pill. As he spoke, the bleeding stopped. His wounds were also healing. It was time to counterattack. Then you have to be careful, Lu Hong warned. Qin Feiyong nodded, grabbed Chang Shui, and appeared on the path. However, there was silence all around. There were no more arrows. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and directly jumped into the forest. But what entered his line of sight, apart from the bushes, weeds, and trees, there were only beasts. Those beasts were also trembling at this moment, and their eyes were filled with fear. Qin Feiyong climbed up a big tree, stood at a commanding height, and scanned below. He didn't even find a shadow. He couldn't figure it out. Even the beasts were afraid. Those people must be very strong, but why were they hiding? Was it because they were afraid of exposing their identity? That's right. He had the castle. It wasn't so easy to kill him. Perhaps this was the reason why the other party had been hiding all this time. However, since the assassination didn't succeed, they would definitely continue. Qin Feiyong didn't waste any time and returned to the path. After walking for about a few hundred meters, he stopped beside a black stone and looked ahead. 100 meters away was the 3rd danger point. He entered the castle and saw that Wolf King was still unconscious. He frowned and said, how is it? It's basically fine. It's just that the venom has been integrated into its blood. It will take some time to completely clear it. Fortunately, we have the supreme-grade detoxification pill, Lu Hong said. This kind of poison was very terrifying. Ordinary detoxification pills couldn't completely eradicate it. If there was no supreme-grade detoxification pill, Wolf King would definitely be in danger now. Qin Feiyong's eyes were extremely gloomy. He looked at Fatso and said, did you find the heart-rotting grass I asked you to find? Fatso nodded. After looting Pan Wang's treasury, as long as it wasn't a particularly rare medicinal herb, Fatso had it on him. The heart-rotting grass was light black and had 3 leaves. Each leaf was as long as a chopstick and as wide as a thumb. It emitted a strong smell of rotting corpses. It was very unpleasant. Fatso pinched his nose and threw it to Qin Feiyong with a look of disgust. He urged, quickly take it away. Qin Feiyong caught it and put it in his arms. Although the heart-rotting grass was not popular, it was one of the main medicinal herbs to refine the disaster pill. After leaving the castle, Qin Feiyong walked towards the danger point. The corner of his eyes had always been paying attention to the jungle on both sides, because the danger point was the best place to ambush. He believed that the person in the dark wouldn't let go of this good opportunity. Squeak! As soon as he entered the danger point, a strange sound that made one's scalp tingle came from the jungle on both sides. Black poisonous insects swarmed towards Qin Feiyong. Some flew in the air. Some crawled on the ground. They were pitch black and longer than chopsticks. There were countless tentacles under their abdomens. They were densely packed and looked extremely terrifying. Whoosh! Sure enough, at this time, several cold arrows came from behind. Qin Feiyong smiled coldly. He used the smoke-gathering steps and quickly dodged. And those flying centipedes, just as they were about to drown Qin Feiyong, suddenly turned around and retreated into the jungle as if they were running for their lives. How is this possible? In the jungle behind, another exclamation sounded. Obviously, he was shocked by this scene. Humph! Qin Feiyong coldly snorted inwardly. He abruptly turned around, and like a bolt of lightning, he shot towards the place where the voice came from. As soon as he entered the jungle, he saw a black-clothed man with a dull expression in a patch of grass more than 10 meters away. At the same time, in other directions, there were 6 black-clothed men. Unexpectedly, there were actually 7 people, and they all looked quite strong. Qin Feiyong hurriedly glanced and rushed towards the black-clothed man closest to him. But suddenly, he stopped and looked at the middle-aged man standing on the left. His face suddenly had a trace of disbelief. That person was actually Commander Su of the royal family. At the wedding ceremony of the eldest prince in Lin Yi, this person made things difficult for him, so he would never forget it for the rest of his life. In the blink of an eye, "Oh no, we've been discovered!" The black-clothed man quivered and shouted suddenly. Commander Su's face also changed, and he shouted sternly, "Kill him quickly!" The 7 people immediately rushed towards Qin Feiyong with murderous intent. Qin Feiyong said gloomily, "Commander Su, why are you doing this?" This person was a warlord. He was no match for him, so he couldn't fight him head-on. Seeing that Commander Su didn't answer, Qin Feiyong decisively turned around and ran towards the danger point. Wherever he passed, the flying centipedes he encountered retreated to the side as if they were fleeing for their lives. This scene made Commander Su and the others extremely incredulous. "Commander, what should we do?" the black-clothed man said in horror. Among the 7 people, only Commander Su was a warlord. The other 6 were 9-star martial arts grandmasters. When they saw the black mass of flying centipedes, they couldn't help but retreat. "Get out of the way!" Captain Su rushed forward and let out a roar. His battle chi swept out like a torrent. Swathes of flying centipedes turned into a pool of blood on the spot, like a rain of blood. It was a shocking scene. The strength of a warlord couldn't be underestimated. Although these flying centipedes could spit out venom, they couldn't get close to Commander Su. Qin Feiyong frowned. If this continued, he would be caught sooner or later. Suddenly, his body and mind tensed up, and a strong sense of danger rose in his heart. Squeak! Accompanied by an ear-piercing cry, a black stream of light shot out from the forest in front of him. It was also a flying centipede, and it was a meter long. Just looking at it made his scalp numb, let alone fighting it. Boom! A black beam of light shot out from its mouth. This was battle chi. This meant that it had a warlord realm poisonous beast. Qin Feiyong was the first to bear the brunt. Seeing that he was about to be engulfed by the battle chi, he instantly disappeared without a trace. And that battle chi surged towards Commander Su. Humph! Commander Su snorted and pointed his finger in the air. His battle chi was like a rainbow, colliding with the black battle chi. Boom! Crack! That moment, a destructive wave of air rolled out in all directions like a tide. Bushes, weeds, trees, and those flying centipedes were all turned into ashes. Within a radius of tens of meters, it became a land of death in the blink of an eye. Seeing countless flying centipedes die, the warlord flying centipede immediately became ferocious. It rushed in front of Commander Su and the others, raised its head and spat out venom. Immediately, the venom poured down from the sky like a rainstorm. "Commander Su, let's retreat." The black-clothed burly man and the other 5 tried to persuade him, but their faces were all pale. It's only equivalent to a 1-star warlord. What can it do? Commander Su's face was full of disdain. His battle chi surged and condensed into a battle chi barrier to protect the 2 of them. The venom fell and was completely isolated. At this moment, Qin Feiyong appeared out of thin air behind the warlord flying centipede. He turned his head and grinned at Commander Su, then ran toward the small path without looking back. "How dare you provoke me? You're courting death." Enraged, Commander Su led the other 6 cultivators toward the flying centipede king like a shooting star. whereupon he unleashed a fist strike. The warlord flying centipede wailed and was sent flying. Its 1-meter-long body suddenly exploded in mid-air. This time, he had poked a hornet's nest. The flying centipedes from all directions seemed to have gone mad as they swarmed towards him from all directions. The black-clothed burly man and the other 5 were immediately paralyzed with fear. It was Commander Su who used the barrier to drag them along and force their way through. After a while, Commander Su fought his way out of the encirclement and came to the small path. He looked ahead and saw Qin Feiyong disappear around a corner. "Little bastard, I won't let you go." Commander Su's killing intent surged. No matter how many flying centipedes there were, they could not stop him. He quickly rushed out of the danger zone and came to the corner. Chapter 268. The path ahead was no longer a straight line. There were many twists and turns, and the trees on both sides blocked his line of sight. Commander Su stood at the corner with a gloomy expression. Since he couldn't see the road ahead, he didn't know if Qin Feiyong had gone to the front, or if he was hiding in the castle. "Commander, what should we do now?" The black-clothed man and the other 6 had already regained their senses and looked at Commander Su in confusion. "There's no turning back. Chase him to the end," Commander Su said sinisterly as he ran along the path. The 6 of them looked at each other and followed suit. When the 7 of them were far away, Qin Feiyong appeared out of thin air at the corner. "Why did he want to kill me?" He looked ahead, his eyes flickering. Then, he took out the map and carefully examined it. He definitely couldn't take this path anymore. This was because Commander Su had chased him for a distance. Seeing that he hadn't caught up to him, he would definitely think that he was still behind him. Therefore he had to change his route. After looking at it for a while, he put away the map and looked towards the mountains on the right. According to the map, he could circle around to the Desert of Death, but the journey was extremely dangerous. There were countless war chief realm beasts. More importantly, night was about to fall. "Let's rest for the night first. We'll see what happens tomorrow morning." Qin Feiyong muttered and entered the castle. Fatso said, "Boss, do you think Commander Su wants to take revenge for Wei Zhongyang?" Lu Hong shook her head. "Impossible, Wei Zhongyang is no longer the Yan King. There's no need for him to work so hard." After pausing for a moment, she suggested, "Why don't we send a message to Elder Wan and the others and ask them to help? Since we've already left, let's not trouble them anymore. Moreover, there's no need to trouble them for a mere war chief." Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed with a cold light. He sat cross-legged in the corner of the castle and closed his eyes to cultivate. "Outside." "Damn you, little bastard." Commander Su stopped in his tracks and looked at the empty path in front of him, his anger burning. Qin Feiyong was only a 7-star martial ancestor. His speed was not even 1/10 of his. After chasing for so long, he still hadn't caught up. It was obvious that he must have hidden in the castle. "Commander, calm down. If that little bastard is still behind us, he will pass by this place sooner or later." "That's right, we'll lie in ambush here and wait for him to deliver himself to us," the 6 black-clothed men said. "If you can think of it, how can he not think of it? I'm afraid he has already taken a detour to the Desert of Death," Commander Su said gloomily. The black-clothed man laughed and said, "Isn't that better? In the deep mountains, vicious beasts run amok. He will only die if he goes in." "Idiot!" Commander Su cursed. Didn't he think about who Qin Feiyong was? His castle alone was enough to safely enter the Desert of Death. "Let's wait for him in the Desert of Death." He pondered for a moment. He led the 6 of them and continued to rush towards the Desert of Death. The night passed in silence. The next day, Qin Feiyong left the castle early in the morning. Wolf King had also woken up. After a night of rest, he had recovered to his peak condition. A man and a wolf galloped along the small path. Wolf King asked doubtfully, "Little Qinzi, didn't you say we were going to take a detour?" Qin Feiyong said, "Let's observe the situation first. Maybe Commander Su thought we would take a detour, and went to the Desert of Death first. He didn't want to enter the deep mountains unless he had no other choice. Is he so smart?" Wolf King despised him. Qin Feiyong said, "Don't underestimate anyone. They didn't encounter any ambushes along the way. Occasionally, they would encounter one or two vicious beasts blocking their way, but they were all quickly dealt with by them. Half a day later, the entrance to the desert of death finally came into sight. The weather today was very good. The sun was high in the sky, and the sky was clear. Wait! Qin Feiyong waved his hand, stopped, jumped onto a big tree, and looked towards the entrance. He could vaguely see many people gathered at the entrance, but they were too far away to see their faces clearly. What are you afraid of? Even if they ambush us at the entrance, we can hide in the castle. The Wolf King said without any annoyance. Can't we live without the castle? They have time to waste, but we don't. Don't forget that I have a 5-year agreement with Wang Hong. If I don't report to the state capital within 5 years, Wang Hong will definitely keep his word. Qin Feiyong landed on the ground, glared at it fiercely, and continued to move forward. Look, isn't that Qin Feiyong? Why is he in the desert of death? Let's go and ask him for a few supreme-grade pills. When they were about to reach the entrance, a few voices sounded from the jungle next to them. Then, 3 middle-aged men ran out and stood in front of the man and the wolf. They were dripping with blood and full of murderous intent. Seeing is better than hearing about you. Brother Qin is indeed a talent. Wolf King is also very handsome. However, this is the desert of death. You can lose your life at any time. You two have to be careful. The 3 of them stared at Qin Feiyong and Wolf King maliciously. The people who would be here were basically murderers who didn't care about their lives. If they were provoked, they would do anything. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. In his mind, a flash of inspiration suddenly flashed. He smiled and said, "The 3 of you are blocking the way, nothing more than for the supreme-grade pills. However, you should also know my methods. It's best to give up the idea of robbing as soon as possible." The pupils of the 3 contracted. Qin Feiyong said, "We can make a deal." Deal? The 3 of them were stunned and asked, "What deal?" Qin Feiyong said, "It's very simple. Follow me to the entrance. When I enter the desert of death, I will give each of you 10 supreme-grade healing pills." Is it really that simple? The 3 of them looked at him suspiciously. Accompanying him to the entrance, they could earn 10 supreme-grade pills. Wasn't this a pie falling from the sky? Qin Feiyong nodded. Okay. We will accompany you right away. The 3 of them responded in succession, overjoyed. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and sent Wolf King into the castle. Then, he took an illusory form pill and turned into a middle-aged man. Then he asked the 3 in front of him for tattered clothes to change into. The 3 of them were baffled. One of them frowned and said, "Brother Qin, are you being hunted down?" Another person shook his head and said, "If that's the case, then it's too dangerous for us to accompany you to the entrance. It's not worth it." Qin Feiyong glanced at the 3 of them and said with a faint smile, "You just want more pills. After it's done, I will give each of you 20 pills." Brother Qin is indeed a straightforward person. Let's go. The 3 of them laughed and walked towards the entrance. Qin Feiyong shook his head and strode after them. Not to mention dozens of healing pills, even if there were tens of thousands, he wouldn't care. Because for the current him, it was completely a drop in the ocean. And there was a certain reason for him to do so. If Commander Su and the others were really lying in ambush at the entrance, then even if he changed his appearance, Commander Su would still suspect that he was Qin Feiyong. Because he was only one person. But now it was different. With these 3 people accompanying him, no matter how smart Commander Su was, he wouldn't suspect him. Dozens of breaths later, Qin Feiyong followed the 3 of them to the entrance. There were hundreds of people gathered at the entrance, basically all of them recuperating here. Sensing that someone was coming, everyone looked at Qin Feiyong and the other 3. But they only took a quick glance, then retracted their gazes and continued to recuperate. Qin Feiyong was also observing them, wanting to see if Commander Su and the others were mixed in with them. But after scanning the crowd, he didn't find the 7 of them. However, he found an old man in black behind the crowd on the left, staring at him intently, as if he was examining him. It was also at this moment. The 3 middle-aged men looked at each other and took a step back at the same time, walking side by side with Qin Feiyong. One of them whispered, "Brother Qin, if you don't want your identity to be exposed, you have to raise the price." Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows without a trace. These three people were really greedy. Don't blame us for not being loyal. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourself for being a rich man. When we meet a rich man, we usually rip him off ruthlessly. The three of them chuckled. Qin Feiyong suppressed his anger and whispered, "Okay, 50 pills per person. Are you a beggar? Fixed price, each of us will pay 10,000 supreme grade healing pills and 10,000 supreme grade bone replenishing pills. If you don't agree, we will tell everyone now that you are Qin Feiyong." The three of them laughed sinisterly, and the threat was not concealed. 10,000 pills? Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed with killing intent, and he whispered, "One can't be too greedy." One of them laughed and said, "There's nothing we can do, we desperados just like the word greedy." Qin Feiyong said, "Okay, I promise you. Anyway, these pills are nothing to me." Straightforward. The three of them smiled and let Qin Feiyong into the depths of the desert of death. Qin Feiyong looked at the old man in black again. He found that the man was still examining him. Qin Feiyong frowned. Could it be that this old man had discovered something? Or Commander Su was in disguise? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. He could think of changing his appearance and muddling through. Commander Su should also be able to think of disguising himself and waiting here. But no matter what, he had successfully entered the desert of death. At a glance, it was all yellow sand. Thousands of adventurers were scattered in various places. However, this was only the periphery, and the people who stayed here to search were basically martial masters. Those who were slightly stronger would go deep into the desert to search for treasures. About 500 meters deep. The three of them stopped next to a sand dune and said with a smile, "Brother Qin, we'll leave you here." "Thank you." Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and turned to continue walking deeper. The three men's gazes darkened, and they immediately stood in front of him, saying, "Did you forget something?" Yes. Qin Feiyong patted his head and said with a smile, "I'm really sorry I forgot. Wait a moment, I'll get you the pills." After that, he took out the Cosmos bag. However, just as he took out the Cosmos bag, the three of them suddenly burst into action. One of them reached out to grab the Cosmos bag, while the other two rushed to Qin Feiyong. At the same time, Qin Feiyong's lips curled up slightly, as if he had already expected it. Clang! Chang Shui appeared in his hand, and with a wave of his hand, he cut off the arms of the three people. Blood spurted out a few meters away. Ah! The three of them couldn't help but scream. "I told you not to be too greedy, but you just didn't believe me. Now you didn't earn the pills but lost your lives. Why bother?" Chapter 269. Bam! The three of them fell on the yellow sand, glaring at Qin Feiyong with resentment. In the blink of an eye they died. Qin Feiyong put away his Qingkuan bag and walked out from behind the sand dune, looking up at the entrance. He could vaguely see 7 silhouettes rushing in his direction. The three of them must have been alerted by their screams earlier on. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed coldly. He turned and walked to the 3 corpses. With a thought, he disappeared without a trace. Not long after, the 7 of them arrived at the sand dune. The leader was the old man in black. One of the burly men pointed at the 3 corpses on the ground and exclaimed, "Let's go. They've been killed." The old man in black walked over and his face darkened. One slash to the throat. Wasn't this Qin Feiyong's usual assassination technique? That damned bastard. He was really crafty. "Commander, in my opinion, let's forget about it." "That's right. Although Wei Zhongyang saved you before, he's no longer the king of Yan. There's no need to offend a monster like Qin Feiyong because of him." The 6 men behind him tried to persuade him. "No. If Wei Zhongyang hadn't saved me back then, I would have turned into a pile of bones long ago. How would I have the status I have today? I can't not repay the favor of saving my life." Before he left, he asked me to kill Qin Feiyong. I must do it. The old man in black consumed a face-restoring elixir and regained his true appearance quickly. Who else could it be other than Commander Su? He looked up at the depths of the Death Desert with a ferocious glint in his eyes. "I see. In the ancient castle." Qin Feiyong revealed a look of realization. Lu Hong said, "This Commander Su is also a loyal and righteous person." He's loyal, but he's blindly loyal. Wei Zhongyang is narrow-minded and cunning. He's not worth it at all. Fatso sneered. Swash. After consuming the face-restoring elixir and regaining his true appearance, Qin Feiyang appeared behind Wei Zhongyang in a flash. Commander Su and the others were shocked and quickly took 2 steps back. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Commander Su, I heard what you said just now. So what if I did? Commander Su's eyes flashed with a sharp light. Qin Feiyang said, Originally, I wanted to assassinate you when you weren't paying attention, but I really admire your character. Commander Su said disdainfully, Assassinate me? Do you have the ability to do that? Qin Feiyang shook the Chang Shui and said with a faint smile, You should know very well whether I have the ability or not. Looking at the Chang Shui in Qin Feiyang's hand, Commander Su's pupils constricted. It was a treasure that could be used to hide. An indestructible dagger. If Qin Feiyang really wanted to assassinate him, he would have died the moment he appeared out of thin air. Even if he didn't succeed this time, there would be a next time and a time after that. Commander, this is a good opportunity for reconciliation. You must make good use of it. The other 6 people tried to persuade him in whispers. Commander Su's face was gloomy as he asked Qin Feiyang, What are you trying to say? Wei Zhongyang is not worthy of you working so hard for. Although Wei Zhongyang saved you back then, you've been working hard for the royal family all these years. That's more than enough to repay his kindness. Moreover, Wei Zhongyang is only using you this time. Qin Feiyang said. You're lying. Commander Su shouted. You can think about whether I'm lying or not. Although I'm about to leave the county of Yan, Elder Wang and the others will come immediately if I say the word. There's no way Wei Zhongyang doesn't know about this. Yet, he still sent you to kill me. Isn't that just sending you to your death? To put it bluntly, he's using you as a pawn. If he can kill me successfully, he'll be able to vent the hatred in his heart. If he can't, he won't lose anything. He doesn't care whether you live or die. Qin Feiyang said plainly. Commander Su fell silent. There was a conflicted look on his face. I'll give you a chance now. Return to the county of Yan immediately and do whatever you need to do. I'll let bygones be bygones. However, if you insist on being stubborn, I, Qin Feiyang, am not afraid of you. I'll play with you to the end. Qin Feiyang said. Commander Su, Qin Feiyang has a point. Wake up. Don't be so stubborn. You still have a bright future ahead of you. The position of commander of the royal family will definitely be yours in the future. Why do you have to do this? Even if we kill Qin Feiyang, Elder Wan and the others won't let us go. By then, there won't be a place for us in the entire county of Yan. The black-robed man and the others also reverted to their original appearances and tried to persuade him. Commander Su looked at them, a little out of his wits. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, I haven't told Elder Wan and the others about this. It's not too late to turn back. Really? Commander Su asked. It's absolutely true. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Okay. Commander Su gritted his teeth and knelt on the ground with a plop. He said gratefully, Thank you, Brother Qin, for your magnanimity. I will never forget this kindness for the rest of my life. Thank you, young Master Qin. The black-robed man and the others also kowtowed one after another, deeply grateful. Qin Feiyang also smiled. Killing was very simple, but it was very difficult to educate a person. Therefore, in his opinion, this was the most perfect ending. Of course, he would not show mercy to those who were stubborn. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, Go back and cherish the future. Commander Su hurriedly said, Please give me a chance to apologize to Wolf King in person. Qin Feiyang stared blankly for a moment before he took the Wolf King out. Commander Su said, Wolf King, we almost killed you yesterday. I'm really sorry. Please forgive us. Wolf King glanced at the 7 of them, his eyes flashing fiercely. A moment later, he stood up and waved his claws generously. Little Qin Zi won't pursue the matter, so I'm too lazy to pursue it. As long as you don't help the wicked in the future. Thank you, Wolf King. The 7 of them kowtowed and thanked him. Let's go. See you later. Qin Feiyang clasped his hands in greeting. Then he led the Wolf King deeper into the forest. Commander Su and the others stood up and looked at the backs of the man and the wolf, their hearts filled with emotions. Although the man and the wolf were notorious, they actually had a kind heart. The black-robed man smiled and said, "Commander, let's go back too. I still have something to do. You guys go back first." Commander Su shook his head. "Commander, what are you going to do? Could it be that you were pretending just now? Do you still want to deal with them?" The 6 of them were surprised. "Nonsense. We went too far yesterday. They can forgive us. How can I still deal with them? I just feel guilty in my heart. I want to secretly escort them as a way to repay their kindness." Commander Su sighed. "So that's how it is." The black-robed man breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "Then we might as well go with you. Yes, we are all people you brought out. Wherever you go, we will follow." The other 5 nodded in agreement. "Okay." Commander Su was quite touched. He nodded and said a few words. Then, he led the 6 of them and followed behind the man and the wolf from afar. "Little Qinzi, I really don't understand you. I can't help but wonder if you are an imposter." Wolf King looked at Qin Feiyang strangely. In the ruins, when the grandfather and grandson poisoned them, Qin Feiyang was merciful. Now, he was merciful to Commander Su and the others. When did this fellow become so kind-hearted? Qin Feiyang said helplessly, "I don't seem to be merciful to those who should be killed, right? For example, Ma Chong, Patriarch Lin, and the others, he did not let any of them go." Half a month passed. The man and the wolf had already gone hundreds of miles into the death desert. Looking around, they couldn't find a single person. Because most of the beasts here were at the War King realm. Only the War King realm dared to come here. But basically, all the War King realm warriors cherished their lives and wouldn't come here to take the risk. "How long do they plan to follow us?" Wolf King turned around and looked at a sand dune dozens of meters behind him. There was a trace of displeasure in his huge eyes. And Commander Su and the other 6 were hiding behind the sand dune. They thought that they were undetectable, but little did they know that not long after they followed them, the man and the wolf had already discovered them. At that time, Qin Feiyang and Wolf King thought that they were going to harm them again. But after slowly observing, they realized that it wasn't what they thought. Because there were several times when they were fighting with the beasts, Commander Su and the others didn't take the opportunity to attack. Roar! A few hundred meters ahead, a loud beast roar sounded out. A ferocious beast was running wildly in the desert, causing yellow sand to fill the sky. At the same time, on the other side, there were a few huge beasts that were napping on the yellow sand like short mountains. Qin Feiyang said, "White-eyed wolf, are you ready?" Wolf King nodded. The man and the wolf restrained their auras and quietly sneaked over. In this half a month, Qin Feiyang had already broken through to the 8-star martial ancestor realm. Wolf King had also broken through once again. His strength was comparable to a 9-star martial ancestor realm. However, in the desert of death with their strength, it was simply not enough. "It's too dangerous ahead. If you continue to follow, you will only drag me back. Give me your quiver and stay here. Wait for me to come back." Commander Su took away the quiver of the 6 people and warned them. Then, he grabbed a big iron bow and chased after the man and the wolf. Roar! Even though Qin Feiyang and Wolf King didn't make any movements, they were still discovered by a fierce beast. The fierce beast immediately pounced towards them as if it had seen a plate of delicious food. Whiz! Seeing this, Commander Su quickly pulled the bow and released the arrow in one breath. Accompanied by a sharp piercing sound, the black arrow pierced into the beast's eye. The man and the wolf were a little stunned. Could it be that Commander Su was escorting them? Commander Su didn't hide anymore. He quickly ran to the man and the wolf and said, "I'll send you out of this area." Without any explanation, his battle chi gushed out and condensed into a boundary. He took the man and the wolf and shot into the depths of the desert. Qin Feiyang was stunned and hurriedly said, "Stop." "What?" Commander Su didn't stop. He just looked at him in confusion. "Wang Hong said that no one is allowed to escort me. I can only rely on my own efforts to get to the state capital." Qin Feiyang was a little helpless. If not, he would have asked Elder Wan to escort him. Why would it be so troublesome? "There is such a thing." Commander Su frowned and then said with a smile, "It doesn't matter. Anyway, he is far away in the state capital and doesn't know the situation. Besides, I don't have the ability to send you to the state capital. I can only send you out of this area. When we enter the next area, I will return to Yen City. The next area was filled with fierce beasts of the War Emperor realm. Chapter 270. Qin Feiyang thought about it and felt that it made sense. Thus, he did not reject Commander Su's good intentions. Actually, even without Commander Su sending him off, he was confident that he could easily pass through the desert of death. This was because beasts above the War Chief realm were different from other low-level beasts. Their intelligence was not inferior to humans at all. As long as they had intelligence, there would definitely be room for negotiation. And not only was he a top-quality alchemist, he also had a large amount of treasures. If he was really trapped by the beasts and couldn't leave, he could definitely negotiate with the beasts. On the way, he also found out that Commander Su was actually a 9-star war king. He was only one step away from the War Emperor. In the past, he really didn't realize that Commander Su was actually so strong. With Commander Su's escort, their speed was dozens of times faster. In the blink of an eye, another half a month passed. On this day, 2 men and a wolf stood on a sand dune, looking at the desert in front of them. In front of them, they could clearly feel several powerful auras. Commander Su's eyes were filled with fear. Brother Qin, Wolf King, I can only send you here. The rest of the journey will depend on you. Commander Su retracted his gaze and looked at the man and the wolf with a smile. Thank you. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, then we'll meet again. Commander Su cupped his hands and jumped down from the sand dune. He followed the path he came from and quickly disappeared from the line of sight of the man and the wolf. Wolf King chuckled. This person is quite interesting. Qin Feiyang nodded. If it wasn't for Commander Su's help, it would have taken at least half a year for him and Wolf King to arrive here. This is bad. Suddenly, Wolf King cried out in alarm. What is it? Qin Feiyang's expression changed, and he hurriedly scanned his surroundings vigilantly. Wolf King said angrily, Brother's strength has already reached the 9-star martial ancestor realm, but without the War Emperor, how can I open the 2nd and 3rd level of the Gate of Potential? A row of black lines appeared on Qin Feiyang's forehead. They were in the desert of death. Could they not be so shocked? It would scare people to death. However, what Wolf King said was indeed a problem. This was because he was about to break through to the 9-star martial ancestor realm. If he did not think of a way, it would delay his cultivation. Don't worry, the desert of death is lacking in everything, but it doesn't lack War Emperor level beasts. Let's go talk to them. Also, let's see if anyone is willing to give us a ride. Qin Feiyang grinned. You're really bad, but I like it. Roar. Wolf King let out an excited howl and ran towards the desert. Qin Feiyang also strode after him. If anyone saw this scene, their jaws would definitely drop. When others saw the ferocious beasts, they didn't even have time to hide. Instead, they took the initiative to approach them. If this wasn't courting death, then what was? Hiss. Soon, a giant python rushed out of the yellow sand and floated in the air. Its body was dozens of meters long, and its entire body was yellow in color. Its lantern-like eyes were emitting a frighteningly ominous light. Hey, 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 we're here! Wolf King shouted at the giant python while waving his hand enthusiastically, as if he had seen an old friend. The giant python lowered its head and looked at Wolf King in a daze. Could it be that this wolf cub's brain was damaged? Wolf King said helplessly, Big Brother's neck is sore, friend, can you come down and talk? Friend? The giant python was startled. It was even more certain that there was something wrong with this wolf's brain. Its eyes shone with a cold luster. It opened its bloody mouth and swooped down towards the man and the wolf. Wolf King said sadly, Big Brother sincerely wants to be friends with you, but you want to eat us. It really makes Big Brother disappointed. Scram immediately. The giant python flew into a rage. It didn't even have the mood to eat them. Wolf King grinned and laughed. Don't be like this, come down and let's have a good talk. The giant python was about to go crazy. Where did this lunatic come from? If it ate this wolf cub, would it also become crazy? Whiz. Decisively, it turned in the air and drilled into the yellow sand. Wolf King was stunned. He turned to look at Qin Feiyang and wondered, Big Brother didn't act friendly enough? Qin Feiyang looked at it speechlessly. How could it greet others like this? If it weren't for the fact that he knew the white-eyed wolf well, he would also suspect that it was crazy like the giant python. Let's go and find other beasts. Qin Feiyong sighed helplessly and continued to run forward. The giant python was originally a cold-blooded creature. He didn't expect that it would be scared away by Wolf King. It was also a strange story. But after a few steps, the yellow sand in front of them exploded, and the giant python appeared again. It stared coldly at the man and wolf and said telepathically, "Are you playing with this emperor?" "No." Wolf King hurriedly went up. This move made the giant python retreat. Did this wolf cub have something to rely on so it dared to be so unscrupulous? The veins on Qin Feiyong's forehead bulged. He hurriedly ran up to hold down Wolf King and smiled at the giant python. "Senior Beast Emperor, don't misunderstand, it's just like this." "Senior?" The giant python was still not used to this name. Qin Feiyong said, "Senior, we're here to ask you for a favor. This human is still normal, I can eat him." The giant python secretly calculated and immediately pounced on Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong's face changed, and he hurriedly said, "I have a top-grade pill." The giant python stopped, its huge eyes filled with shock and bewilderment. Qin Feiyong didn't talk nonsense. He took out a top-grade healing pill and tempted, "As long as you agree to help, I can give you a lot." The giant python looked at the pill patterns on the pill and asked doubtfully, "You're a top-grade alchemist?" "Yes." Qin Feiyong nodded. "What help?" the giant python asked. Qin Feiyong was secretly overjoyed and said, "Send us to the Sea of Despair, and borrow your pressure." "What?" The giant python looked at the man and wolf in shock. They actually want to go to the Sea of Despair. Are they crazy? Qin Feiyong's heart moved and asked, "Senior knows about the Sea of Despair?" "I've heard rumors but I don't know the details. I only heard that there is a group of mysterious humans living in that sea. Not only can they fly, but they can also live in the sea." "What are you going to do in the Sea of Despair?" the giant python asked. "Mysterious humans?" Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. He knew a little about the Sea of Despair, but he had never heard of such a bizarre thing. He temporarily put aside this doubt and smiled. "I have some private matters to attend to." The giant python was silent, as if thinking about something, and suddenly said, "If you have the transformation pill and the barrier-breaking pill, this emperor will agree to send you there." Hearing this, Qin Feiyong immediately frowned. "If you don't, then don't talk about it," the giant python said indifferently. Qin Feiyong said, "To be honest, I don't have the pill formulas for the transformation pill and the barrier-breaking pill for the time being, but as long as you are willing to help me, I promise to send them to you in the future." "Human boy, do you think that beasts are easy to fool? I'm afraid that when this emperor sends you to the Sea of Despair, you will immediately turn hostile and deny it." The giant python looked down at him contemptuously. Hey friend, shouldn't there be more trust between beasts and humans? Look at my brother. He has such a good relationship with little Qin Zi." Wolf King stood up, put his arm around Qin Feiyong's shoulder, and grinned at the giant python. The giant python directly ignored Wolf King and said impatiently, "Human, don't waste this emperor's time. Come into this emperor's mouth. After eating you, this emperor still needs to rest." Qin Feiyong was stunned. Why did these words sound so familiar? Yes, it was the lion-headed eagle. The lion-headed eagle also said these words. His face suddenly twitched. Why did these beasts have so many personalities? Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he said with a smile, "I have ready-made battle chi pills on me, but they are not the best quality pills." Battle chi pills. The giant python's eyes lit up and it said, "This is good. Give me 1,000 pills and I will help you." Wolf King said angrily, "Damn, why don't you rob me?" "Yes, why don't I rob you? As long as I eat this human, all the pills will be mine, right?" "Wolf Cub, thank you for your reminder." The giant python's huge body shook, and a terrifying pressure shrouded Qin Feiyong like a torrent. Qin Feiyong grabbed Wolf King and disappeared without a trace. The giant python's eyes widened, and it glanced down in surprise. In the castle, Qin Feiyong glared at Wolf King and roared, "Do you have a brain? Don't you know what should be said and what shouldn't be said?" "I didn't expect it to be so cunning." Wolf King smiled embarrassedly. It's all because of you. Qin Feiyang glared at it angrily, then looked at Fatso and said, "Prepare 500 battle chi pills for me immediately." The two nodded. Wolf King asked in confusion, "Little Qinzi, what is a bottleneck-breaking pill?" "It's a pill that can let you speak." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. "Oh." Wolf King nodded thoughtfully, his dark eyes rolling. "It's ready." Lu Hong handed a Qiankuan bag to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang took the Qiankuan bag, walked to the altar, and took out 2 potential pills. It turned out that there were a total of 10 potential pills. Fatso and Lu Hong each took 2 pills to open the first and second level of the Gate of Potential some time ago. Now he had to give Wolf King 2 more. There were only 4 left. It seemed that he still needed to find more medicinal materials for the potential pills. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Fatso and asked, "How many medicinal materials do you have now?" "We originally had 5 sets of medicinal materials for the potential pills. Plus Jiang Jingyi's legacy, we have 12 sets in total. Now we have 66 sets of medicinal materials for the red fire-colored glass pill." Fatso thought for a moment and said. Qin Feiyang said, "Sort them out later and give them to me." Fatso nodded. "Don't talk nonsense again." Qin Feiyang reminded Wolf King and then left the castle with Wolf King. The giant python was about to drill into the yellow sand with a belly full of doubts. Seeing the man and the wolf appear out of thin air again, the surprise in its eyes was even stronger than before. "Senior, you saw it too. It's impossible to kill us. Here are 500 battle chi pills. I'll give you the remaining 500 when we get to the Sea of Despair." Qin Feiyang threw the Qiankuan bag over with force. The giant python wrapped the Qiankuan bag with its huge tail and checked it in front of its eyes. Then it looked at Qin Feiyang for a moment. "It's the first time I've met such a forthright human. I'll send you there." After that. Chapter 271. Qin Feiyang heaved a sigh of relief. Although it looked easy on the surface, in reality, it was extremely difficult to convince a berserk beast, especially a cold-blooded creature of the War Emperor realm. Next, naturally, he had to help Wolf King open the door of potential. However, he didn't dare to take out the potential pill in front of the giant python. If it knew about it, who knew what would happen? Twice, Qin Feiyang brought Wolf King into the castle and let it consume the potential pill inside. Under the pressure of the giant python, Wolf King also successfully opened the second and third levels of the door of potential. His cultivation speed increased by leaps and bounds. After the matter was over, Qin Feiyang climbed onto the head of the giant python. The giant python brought him deep into the desert. As for Wolf King, he went to the castle to recuperate. Human brat, what was that light that appeared on the forehead of that wolf cub just now? When the door of potential was opened, the potential imprint would emit rays of light. However, Wolf King's imprint was covered by its hair, so the giant python was very puzzled. "It's nothing. It's just that its forehead is a little strange. Sometimes there will be some light. I'm already used to it," Qin Feiyang said with a smile as he gave a perfunctory reply. "So strange. Could it be some kind of beast god?" The giant python was secretly shocked. After chatting for a while, Qin Feiyang sat on the giant python's head and refined the top-grade chi-gathering pill. On the way, the number of War Emperor realm berserk beasts they encountered could be said to be countless. However, because the giant python was very low-key, they did not make things difficult for it. Time flew by. A month passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, a cool sea breeze blew over, causing Qin Feiyang to be invigorated. He quickly stopped cultivating and stood up to look ahead. At the end of the desert was a long mountain ridge. The highest point of the mountain ridge was hundreds of feet high. The mountain stream was lush with vegetation and berserk beasts. On the other side of the mountain ridge was a blue sea that stretched as far as the eye could see. Looking from afar, there were no strong winds or waves. The sea was very calm. "Human brat, don't be fooled by appearances. This sea is not simple. Do you see the fierce beasts living in the mountains? They all have the strength of War Emperor, but they don't dare to go near the sea." The giant python transmitted its voice. Ferocious beasts of the War Emperor realm could communicate telepathically without consuming any beast spirit pills. Qin Feiyang nodded. The more peaceful a place was, the easier it was to encounter danger. A moment later, the giant python flew over the mountain ridge and heard a sound coming from above a pile of rocks. Qin Feiyong jumped down and landed on a rock. He then entered the castle and took out a chinquan bag and threw it to the giant python. He cupped his hands and smiled. "Senior, many thanks. However, I still need Senior to do me a small favor." The giant python checked and confirmed that there were 500 battle chi pills. It smiled and said, "What do you need? Speak." After a month of getting along, the python's attitude towards Qin Feiyong was not as cold as it was at first. "Senior, please wait a moment." Qin Feiyong sat cross-legged on the rock. He took out a chi-gathering pill and threw it into his mouth. After a month of bitter cultivation, he was about to break through. About an hour passed. Qin Feiyong's body trembled, and a powerful aura broke out from his body. Finally, he had stepped into the 9-star martial ancestor realm. Next, naturally, it was to open the 3rd level of the Gate of Potential. However, before he went to the castle to consume the potential pill, he found a piece of black cloth and stuffed it into the clothes on his chest to cover the potential imprint. This way, the light emitted by the potential imprint could be concealed. After a painful struggle, he also successfully opened the 3rd level. "Ooh!" After letting out a long breath, he raised his head to look at the giant python and smiled. "Senior, we'll meet again. The next time we meet, remember to give me a transformation pill and a barrier-breaking pill." The giant python looked at him suspiciously, but it didn't think too much about it. It dragged its huge body and soared into the air, disappearing from Qin Feiyong's line of sight like lightning. "I will," Qin Feiyong muttered to himself. This time it was all thanks to the help of the giant python. Otherwise, with his speed, it would take at least 2 to 3 years to reach the Sea of Despair. And now, only 2 months had passed since he left Yen City. Sea of Despair. Qin Feiyong turned around and looked at the sea in front of him, his brows gradually frowning. They had arrived, but how were they going to pass through the Sea of Despair? With a wave of his hand, Fatso, Lu Hong, and Wolf King were all brought out. "This is the Sea of Despair?" The 2 men and 1 wolf were all somewhat stunned. Clean beach, calm sea, warm sunlight. There was nothing scary about it at all. "Boss, why don't we build a boat?" Fatso suggested. Qin Feiyong said, "Let's go to the seaside and take a look first." The 3 men and 1 wolf jumped onto the beach and ran towards the seaside. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong was surprised Wolf King's speed was so fast. With a few steps he was more than 10 meters away from them. "White-eyed wolf, what's with your speed?" Qin Feiyong asked. Just as he finished asking, an unbelievable thought crawled up in his mind, and said, "Could it be that you've already—" "That's right, Brother Wolf has already activated his battle soul and stepped into the War King." Wolf King turned around and grinned at him. "So fast?" Qin Feiyong was surprised. Wolf King had only opened the 3rd level of the Gate of Potential a month ago. Although opening the Gate of Potential would definitely increase one's cultivation speed, it was not so easy to break through between a 9-star martial ancestor and the War King. Although it was only a step away, the difference was like heaven and earth. Some people were unable to cross this step even after decades. There were even some people who were stuck at the 9-star martial ancestor for life and died with regrets. According to what Qin Feiyong knew, even those martial arts monstrous geniuses in the imperial capital would need more than half a year. But this guy actually only used a month's time. If this were to spread out, who knew how many geniuses would be angered to death? This also proved that this bastard white-eyed wolf's talent was not inferior to his. Qin Feiyong asked, "Then isn't your strength equivalent to a 3-star War King?" "Brother also wants to, but I don't know why, but this time I actually skipped levels consecutively," Wolf King said with some anger. "No." Qin Feiyong was startled and said, "In other words, your current strength is only that of a 1-star War King?" Wolf King nodded. "That's good." Qin Feiyong heaved a sigh of relief. If Wolf King continued to skip levels and break through, then he would not be a wolf but a monster. "Bastard, you're very happy, aren't you?" However, when Wolf King heard his words, he immediately turned hostile. It was fine if he did not sympathize with it, but he was actually gloating over its misfortune? This was intolerable. It pounced and bit Qin Feiyong's butt. "Bastard, you're serious." Qin Feiyang immediately retreated. But now, his speed could not keep up with Wolf King. With a few leaps, the Wolf King landed behind him and bit his buttocks. Ouch! Qin Feiyang howled in pain and roared. Bastard, let go of me or else don't blame me for falling out with you. If you want to fall out with me then so be it. I'm afraid of you. Wolf King's disdainful voice entered Qin Feiyang's mind. He bit down hard. Qin Feiyang was in so much pain that he was sweating profusely. Seeing that, Fatso and Lu Hong hurriedly ran over to persuade him, and finally made Wolf King release his fangs. Qin Feiyang touched his butt. Wet. At first glance it was blood. His pants were also torn. Bastard, you're actually serious. Qin Feiyang was furious. He took out Chang Shui and sneered. I'll castrate you right now, so that you won't be able to touch a female wolf for the rest of your life. You don't act recklessly. Fatso, Lu Hong, what are you standing there for? Hurry up and stop him. Wolf King ran while anxiously shouting at Fatso and Lu Hong. Although it had already stepped into the War King, Qin Feiyang had Chang Shui in his hands. If they really fought, he would definitely be castrated in the end. Boss, calm down, calm down. You should hurry up and change your pants. Although your butt is very white and we're all on the same side, Lu Hong is still a woman. Fatso ran up to Qin Feiyang to stop him, looked at Qin Feiyang's butt and laughed. Ugh! Qin Feiyang was stunned. Only now did he remember that half of his butt was still exposed. This was too embarrassing. He glanced at Lu Hong. Seeing that Lu Hong was blushing and looking elsewhere, pretending not to see, even with his thick skin, he couldn't help but blush and quickly hide in the castle. Bastard white-eyed wolf, I'm in trouble because of it. As he changed his clothes, he cursed in his heart. He was extremely angry. Shua! When he appeared again, Wolf King had already hidden far away. Qin Feiyang beckoned. Come here. No. Wolf King shook his head and looked at him with tears in his eyes. Qin Feiyang was both angry and amused. Not only did it bite his butt, it also looked extremely wronged. This ruffian wolf really made people feel helpless. Besides, he couldn't really castrate Wolf King. It was just to scare it. Qin Feiyang put away Chang Shui and shook his head. I just want to see your battle soul. I see. Wolf King ran over with relief and smiled. I knew you wouldn't be so heartless, but it's a battle soul. I'll keep it a secret for the time being. The anger in Qin Feiyang's heart immediately flared up. Fatso raised his hand. Boss, Fat Lord knows what Brother Wolf's battle soul is. If you dare to say, I'll kill you. Wolf King glared at him fiercely. Fatso's neck shrank, and he swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. Forget it, we'll know sooner or later anyway. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, looked at Fatso and Lu Hong and asked, Have you made any progress in your cultivation? Lu Hong said with a smile, I just broke through to 6-star Martial Grandmaster. Fatso said with a smile, Fat Lord will soon. Not bad. Qin Feiyang nodded. This speed was enough to crush the top martial arts geniuses in the imperial capital. The 3 men and 1 wolf walked to the seaside and looked at the sea. Not far away, there were many reefs exposed on the sea. After being washed by the waves for many years, the surface was as smooth as a mirror. But other than the reefs, there was nothing else to be found. Looks like we have to build a boat, Qin Feiyang whispered, and handed the Chang Shui to Fatso. Go make a canoe? Okay. Fatso responded, and ran towards the mountains behind. Brother will go and help too. The Wolf King also eagerly followed behind. Lu Hong said worriedly, although there is no wind or waves now, the weather in the sea is constantly changing. No one knows what will happen in the next moment. I'm afraid a canoe won't work. I know all this, but building a boat is too time-consuming. Don't move, I'll go to the sea to check the situation. The giant python said that there is a group of mysterious humans living here. I really want to see it. Qin Feiyang reminded Lu Hong and took a step forward. However, as soon as his front foot touched the sea, he immediately retracted it. His face was full of shock. What's wrong? Lu Hong was surprised. The sea is very cold, Qin Feiyang said, his eyes full of surprise. Cold? Lu Hong was stunned. Wasn't the weather quite hot? How could the sea be cold? She squatted down and put the tip of her index finger into the sea. Just like Qin Feiyang, she retracted it like lightning. How could this be? She looked at the tip of her index finger, her face full of disbelief. The sea was not just cold, it was bone-chilling. Chapter 272. The two of them stood by the sea, their eyes filled with confusion. The temperature was not cold at all, but the water of the Sea of Despair was so cold. It was too strange. Logically speaking, such cold water should be emitting cold air. Should even freeze. But on the surface there was no abnormality at all. It was really impossible to guard against. If someone was not careful and fell into the sea, they would definitely freeze to death. As expected, the giant python was right. The Sea of Despair was not simple. They could not be confused by its appearance. Boss, our luck is really good. We encountered a withered tree. A moment later, Fatso ran over excitedly with a log in his arms. Wolf King followed beside him. The log was as thick as 2 buckets and 5 meters long. It was just enough to make a canoe. Lu Hong frowned and looked at Qin Feiyang. She said firmly, "We can't use a canoe. We have to build a boat." The canoe was too small. Once it encountered a storm, it would definitely capsize. If it fell into the sea, Qin Feiyang would definitely die. Even if they could hide in the castle, they could not hide in the castle forever. Why not use a canoe again? Fatso and Wolf King did not understand. Lu Hong said solemnly, "You will know when you touch the sea." Fatso put down the log and looked at the two of them in confusion. He walked to the sea, put his hand in and quickly retracted it. His fat and oily face was filled with shock. How could this be? Wolf King was also very surprised. "Get out of the way!" Qin Feiyang shouted, picked up the log and threw it into the sea with a bang. Immediately after, under their shocked gazes, the log quickly sank to the bottom of the sea. The hearts of the 3 people and 1 wolf also sank to the bottom. The log had already dried up and could float on the water, but now it sank. It was enough to show that whether it was building a boat or a canoe, it would not work. Qin Feiyang sighed. "I finally understand why this place is called the Sea of Despair. Even a log could not float, how could it not make people despair? Bastard, Wang Hong sent us here to die." Fatso cursed. With their current abilities, it was impossible for them to cross this vast ocean. Wolf King said, "Why don't we go back to the county of Swallow first and come back after we reach the War Emperor level?" "I understand. Wang Hong is probably worried that I won't go to the prefecture capital after witnessing the horror of the Sea of Despair. That's why he used Yan Nanshan to threaten me." Qin Feiyang's face darkened. He pondered for a moment. He turned to Wolf King and said, "Go talk to the vicious beasts in the mountains and see if anyone is willing to give us a ride. Any price is fine." Wolf King turned around and ran towards the mountain behind him. After a full hour, Wolf King ran back and shook his head at Qin Feiyang. "Even the vicious beasts of the War Emperor realm don't dare to go. Boss Brother Wolf is right. Let's go back to the county of Swallow first and wait until we reach the War Emperor level before coming back. With your talent, it won't take more than 5 years to reach the War Emperor level," Fatso advised as he looked at the Sea of Despair in fear. "Let's split up and look around. If there's really no other way, we'll go back to the county of Swallow. Lu Hong and I will go together. Before it gets dark, we'll gather here." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he brought Lu Hong and ran along the left coast. Wolf King and Fatso followed the right coast and searched all the way down. On the way, it was unimaginably calm. There was no danger at all. Half an hour later, a steep cliff was in front of Qin Feiyang and Fatso, blocking their path. "Wait for me here, I'll go up and take a look," Qin Feiyang warned. After a few leaps, he landed on a high vantage point and looked ahead. What entered his line of sight were still mountains, beaches, and oceans. "Is there really no other way?" Qin Feiyang frowned. Just as he retracted his gaze, he suddenly seemed to have discovered something and looked towards a certain part of the sea in front of him. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a reef that was exposed on the surface of the water. "No, there seemed to be a person lying on the reef?" Qin Feiyang called out. "Lu Hong, quickly come up." Hearing that, Lu Hong's true qi surged as she quickly climbed up and landed beside Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang pointed to the reef and said, "Look, is there a person lying on top of it?" "Person?" Lu Hong was stunned for a moment, then shook her head and laughed. How is that possible? You must be seeing things. When she looked over, her face was immediately filled with bewilderment. It really did look like a person was lying on it. It was just that because it was too far away she couldn't see it clearly. Qin Feiyang said, "Let's go over there and have a look." The two of them jumped down, landed on the beach and sped along the sea. The reef was getting clearer and clearer. More than 10 breaths passed. They finally saw clearly that there was indeed a person on it. Could it be the mysterious human mentioned by the python? Lu Hong was surprised. It's really possible. Qin Feiyang was quite excited. If there was someone, it meant that there must be a way to cross this sea. But as the distance got closer and closer, Qin Feiyang's eyes gradually became strange. He found that the person lying on the reef seemed to be a woman. Because of the back view, she looked very petite. More than 10 breaths passed. The two of them seemed to have discussed it in advance. Suddenly they braked and stopped. Both of them stared at the person on the reef with their mouths agape. They were only more than 20 meters away from the reef. And the reef was slanted, and the person was lying on it. The two of them could see the person's appearance very clearly. It was indeed a woman. About 10 or 19 years old. Her long blonde hair was like waves, messily draped over her shoulders. Her facial features were very exquisite, and her skin was delicate and tender, with a hazy luster in the sun. It was simply a masterpiece of God. However, her upper body was naked. Her skin was as smooth as cream, and her slender waist was slender without any extra flesh. There was no cover at all on her chest. The waves were turbulent, majestic and spectacular. It made people's noses bleed. But, although the beauty in front of him had an angelic face and a devilish figure, Qin Feiyang did not have any evil thoughts. His eyes were fixed on the woman's lower body, and he swallowed his saliva. It was the same for Lu Hong. This was because the lower half of her body was not a pair of human legs, but a golden fishtail. Isn't this the legendary mermaid? There were mermaids in the Sea of Despair? Was he dazzled? Qin Feiyang rubbed his eyes hard and looked again. That golden fishtail really came into his sight. It was not a dream. It was not dazzled. It was real. To actually encounter a mermaid, and a mermaid that was in deep sleep, this was too inconceivable. The two of them could not come back to their senses for a long time. Everyone had heard of the legend of mermaids, but no one had ever seen one. Qin Feiyang used to think that it was just a legend, but he did not expect that it actually existed. Suddenly, the mermaid stretched her waist, looking very comfortable and comfortable. She slowly opened her eyes. It was a pair of beautiful eyes as clear as a human's. Her eyeballs were like two sapphires, exuding a charming luster. The moment she opened her eyes, she saw Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong, and a trace of surprise suddenly crept into her eyes. She was stunned for a moment. She suddenly screamed, covered her chest with both hands, and jumped into the sea in panic. With a thud, she disappeared from their sight. Wait! Qin Feiyang quivered and hurriedly shouted. However, the mermaid never came out again, and the sea quickly returned to calm. Mermaid? Lu Hong muttered to herself. Her face was full of disbelief. Qin Feiyang swallowed his saliva and said with a wry smile, "It's not a dream, we really met mermaids." Aren't mermaids just a legend? Lu Hong obviously still couldn't accept it. It turns out that legends are not necessarily false. Quickly send a message to Fatso and ask them to come over and meet us. I'm going to see if the seawater here is different from other places. Qin Feiyang shook his head, walked to the seaside, and reached out to touch the seawater. It was still cold and piercing. How do mermaids live in such a harsh environment? Qin Feiyang murmured, his eyes full of puzzlement. Were they used to it? Or could it be that they could only survive in such an environment? Qin Feiyang's head was full of doubts, and he really couldn't figure it out. Lu Hong walked to his side and said, "I've informed them they'll be here soon." Mysterious human. Mermaid. It seems that the mysterious human mentioned by the python is a mermaid. Qin Feiyang pondered as he stood up and looked at the vast and boundless sea. Didn't the python say that there was a group of mermaids? It also said that they could fly and burrow into the ground. Can mermaids fly? Lu Hong asked. I don't know, mermaids are too elusive, and there are no detailed records about them in the ancient books. But what is certain is that as long as we find these mermaids, we will have a way to cross this vast sea. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. Dong! About half an hour passed. One figure after another suddenly rushed out of the sea. Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong's faces suddenly changed, and they hurriedly retreated. Those who rushed out were also mermaids. But unlike the mermaids before, they were all male mermaids. Every one of them was very tall, at least 2 meters tall. They were very burly and looked very ferocious. Those pairs of blue eyes were glowing with an astonishing fierce light. And each of them was holding a sharp blade in their hands. Some were broad serrated knives. Some were steel forks several meters long, shining with a terrifying edge. A total of 10 mermaids came out. They floated on the surface of the water, glancing at Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong. Suddenly, the sea surged, and another mermaid emerged on the surface of the sea. It was the mermaid from before. But at this moment her upper body was already wearing clothes. It was a golden scale garment made of golden scales. Her wavy golden hair was wet on the ground. Coupled with the golden scale garment and the golden fish tail, she looked like a noble empress, sacred and inviolable. And the other mermaids were very respectful to her. A tall mermaid next to her pointed a steel fork at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Princess, is it him?" "Princess." Qin Feiyang was taken aback and couldn't help but look at Lu Hong. The two looked at each other. Encountering a mermaid was already a stroke of heaven-defying luck. But they never expected to meet the mermaid princess. Chapter 273. It's him. The mermaid princess nodded. Her voice was clear and pleasant to the ears. The merman with the steel fork roared ferociously, "Damned human, how dare you peek at the princess? Get over here and await your punishment." "Everyone, this is a misunderstanding. Let me explain," Qin Feiyang hurriedly said. This was a misunderstanding and he didn't mean to see it. Moreover, there was bone-chilling seawater in front of him. How could he roll over? The merman shouted impatiently, "Don't quibble. You only have 2 choices now. One is to dig out your own eyes, and the other is to dig out your eyeballs myself." Lu Hong said in a low voice, "They are all angry now. Let's retreat first." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded. He grabbed Lu Hong's arm, turned around and ran towards the mountain ridge behind them. The mermaid princess pointed at the 2 of them and said, "Black-winged guard, catch them." A surprising scene suddenly appeared. Dong! A figure jumped out of the water. He was also a merman. But on his back there were 2 black wings. Whoosh! With a flap of his wings he was like a ray of light. His speed was unbelievably fast. In the blink of an eye, he caught up with Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong. He reached out with both hands, grabbing Qin Feiyang with one hand and Lu Hong with the other. He turned around and flew towards the mermaid princess. "This is a merman who can fly?" When Qin Feiyang saw the pair of black wings, he was slightly stunned. He took out Chang Shui and waved it at the black-winged guard's hands. The black-winged guard was shocked. He seemed to have seen that Chang Shui was extraordinary and hurriedly let go of his hand. Qin Feiyang and Lu Hong immediately fell onto the beach. Immediately after, Qin Feiyang sent Lu Hong into the castle. He looked at the mermaid princess and cupped his hands. "I really didn't mean to offend you. Please forgive me, Your Highness." At the end of the day, he wasn't the one at fault. Who asked this mermaid to lie naked on the reef in broad daylight? At the same time, the mermaid princess suspiciously looked around Qin Feiyang. It seemed that she was looking for Lu Hong. A moment later, she looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Where's that woman?" Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "The outside world is too dangerous. I told her to go and hide for a while. Then I'll kill you first." A cold light flickered in the black-winged guard's eyes. He spread his wings and pounced towards Qin Feiyang with lightning speed. "Can't you guys be reasonable?" Qin Feiyang's temper also flared up. "There's no reason for a despicable man like you." The black-winged guard's eyes were filled with disdain as he mercilessly struck out with his palm. In the center of his palm there was a surge of true energy. This mermaid was actually a battle king. Qin Feiyang's pupils constricted. He stretched out his arm and struck out with his palm. Because the black-winged guard's speed was too fast, he couldn't dodge at all. He could only meet it head-on. In the blink of an eye, the two palms collided. Return formula. Qin Feiyong's palm emitted strands of golden light. Puff! The black-winged guard spat out a mouthful of blood. His face instantly turned pale, and he was sent flying like a meteorite. Qin Feiyong also took a few steps back. His arm was trembling, and he could feel the pain of his muscles being torn apart. Although the return formula could give him a taste of his own medicine, there was a limit to it. The strength of the black-winged guard had obviously reached the limit of what he could endure. If he met it head-on again, his arm would definitely break or even explode. As for the mermaid princess and the 10 mermaids beside her, their mouths were wide open in shock. The black-winged guard was a 3-star battle king. He was actually sent flying by that person's palm? Could this person also be a battle king? How could this be? My strength was actually reflected back? The black-winged king stabilized his body and floated in the air above the sea. He looked at his injured arm in disbelief. Swoosh! He suddenly raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyong. His black wings flapped, and his battle chi swept out in all directions, creating a raging wave as he shot toward Qin Feiyong. I'm a 3-star battle king. How could I be defeated by a 9-star martial ancestor like you? Die! He let out a fierce roar. His face was almost distorted as he punched toward Qin Feiyong with all his strength. So what if you're a 3-star battle king? Qin Feiyong smiled coldly. He raised his other arm and collided with the black-winged guard's fist. The return formula appeared once again. The black-winged guard was sent flying again, and blood spurted out of his mouth. I'm really not his match. How did he do it? He's just a 9-star martial ancestor. How could he be so strong? The 10 ferocious mermaids looked at Qin Feiyong as if they were looking at a monster, including the mermaid princess. Qin Feiyong also took a few steps back. He lowered his head and looked at his hands. His eyes were shining. He was also quite excited. Last time when he fought with Lin Hua was a 2-star martial ancestor. At that time he was only a 9-star martial master. After receiving a few punches from Lin Hua, his arm only felt numb. At that time he knew that the power of the return formula was far greater than that. As expected, now with the strength of a 9-star martial ancestor, he could fight a 3-star battle king. He glanced at the mermaid princess and the others. He took out a top-grade healing pill and threw it into his mouth. The pill melted in his mouth and turned into a huge amount of energy, quickly repairing his injured arms. A pill with pill markings? At that moment, the mermaid princess's pupils shrank. Could this be the legendary top-grade healing pill? Damn human, I'll kill you. The black-winged guard went crazy. A 3-star battle king being defeated by a 9-star martial ancestor was a great humiliation that he would never be able to wash away in his lifetime. Boom! Behind him, an illusory figure appeared. This was his battle soul. Impossible! However, when Qin Feiyong saw the battle soul, his body trembled. His face was filled with disbelief. That battle soul was actually a human figure. The battle soul was pitch black and its true appearance could not be seen. However, from its tall and sturdy figure, one could tell that it was a middle-aged man. Moreover, behind the battle soul, there were 2 black wings of light. Human, turn into ashes. The black-winged guard raised his head and roared. The battle soul behind him was like a death god descending as it stepped towards Qin Feiyong. Brother Wolf is here, don't be arrogant. At this moment, an incomparably arrogant voice sounded in the minds of Qin Feiyong and the mermaids. Qin Feiyong turned his head and saw that Wolf King was shrouded in a golden light. He was like a shooting star as he rushed towards them. This is his battle chi? Qin Feiyong muttered. This bastard came at the right time. Little Qin Zi, I'll let you see my heaven-defying battle soul now. Howl! Wolf King's heroic spirit soared to the heavens. Following a wolf howl, a huge golden shadow appeared behind him. That huge shadow was as huge as a mountain. It was like a peerless ferocious beast had descended to the world. A terrifying and peerless ferocious aura enveloped the heavens and earth like raging waves. However, the huge shadow was very blurry. There wasn't even an outline. He didn't know what it was at all. However, when the huge shadow appeared, The black-winged guard's battle soul flew uncontrollably towards the huge shadow. What's going on? The black-winged guard was extremely shocked. He realized that he couldn't control the battle soul. It was as if the battle soul no longer belonged to him. Following that, an even more shocking scene appeared. When the battle soul flew in front of the huge shadow suddenly opened its mouth and swallowed the battle soul in one gulp. What's going on? Qin Feiyang's eyes widened. The mermaid princess and the 10 mermaids were also so shocked that they couldn't speak for a long time. My battle soul, suddenly. The black-winged guard roared hysterically. Qin Feiyang turned his head to look, a puzzled look in his eyes. Wasn't it just the battle soul being swallowed? Was there a need to be so exaggerated? The mermaid princess frowned and said, Black-winged guard, what's going on? Princess, this subordinate can no longer summon the battle soul. Seems that I have lost this ability. The black-winged guard roared in panic. Impossible. The mermaid princess said resolutely. Qin Feiyang also nodded in agreement. Once the battle soul was activated, it would merge with its master. As long as the master didn't die, the battle soul wouldn't be destroyed. Even if the battle soul was shattered by the enemy during a fight, it could continue to condense. It was absolutely impossible for the battle soul to disappear. Once Brother Wolf comes out, who dares to fight? You little shrimps, hurry up and come into Brother Wolf's mouth. I have never tasted the taste of a mermaid before. Wolf King brought the giant shadow and ran to Qin Feiyang's side, sweeping his gaze over the mermaid princess and the others. At this time, Fatso also ran out from behind a rock. The black-winged guard stared angrily at Wolf King and shouted, What did you do to me? Wolf King laughed sinisterly. Isn't it just depriving you of your battle soul? What's there to be surprised about? Deprive? Qin Feiyang was stunned. The mermaid princess and the others were also puzzled. Boss, Brother Wolf's battle soul is extremely heaven-defying. As long as it is swallowed by his battle soul, the other party will completely lose their battle soul. Fatso laughed and ran over. What? Qin Feiyang's body and mind trembled. He raised his head and looked at the giant golden shadow. The shock in his heart could not be described with words. The merfolk on the other side were also in a state of shock. How could there be such a terrifying battle soul in the world? Little Qin Zi, I have already said that I am a peerless wolf god and have been taught by an expert. You just didn't believe me. Do you believe me now? The Wolf King chuckled. Looking at Qin Feiyang's current expression, he was very happy. Peerless wolf god. Qin Feiyang muttered to himself. Was that really the case? Wolf King smiled proudly and looked at the mermaid princess and the others. He said disdainfully, How dare you bully little Qin Zi and Xiao Hong when I am not here? Are you tired of living? Give me back my battle soul. The black-winged guard looked at Wolf King ferociously. Every living creature could only activate their battle soul once in their life. If they lost it, they would be gone forever. Mermaid Princess said, I don't care who you are. Give him your battle soul immediately, or don't blame me for being angry. Why not? I'm curious. Why are you making things difficult for little Qin all of a sudden? Are all mermaids so unreasonable? Wolf King was puzzled. A mermaid holding a steel fork said angrily, This damn human peeked at the princess's body while she was basking in the sun. Shouldn't he be killed? Fatso said disdainfully, It's just a glance. What's the big deal? Fat Lord has seen it now. Do you also want to kill Fat Lord? Ahem. Qin Feiyang coughed and looked at the man and the wolf. He said awkwardly, You don't understand the situation. Don't make trouble for me. What's the situation? You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.